Welcome, everybody, to the Transatlantic Call-In Show, the show where you can call in and ask trans people pretty much anything you want within reason. We do have call-in lines open, so get your calls in. The number is at the bottom of the screen at 720-619-2288 if you're in the continental Americas. But if you are outside of that, we will allow you to use the web caller, so you can use that as well. We especially want people who disagree with us on things related to trans rights. So if you think that trans people don't exist and that we're just faking it, if you think that people are just trans because they want to use the women's bathroom, or if you think we just want to get an edge in sports, call us because we want to talk to you. We'll also take some ally calls, but we take fewer of those. So if you have a hot take, please call us and we can have a chat. With me today is Riverboat Jack. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. I finished a stream last night, fell asleep, woke up, worked out, now I'm here. Let's go. I'm ready to throw down and potentially have some productive conversations.
Yes, and so I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is I have a job lined up now. So I am going back to residency and I got my number one spot. But that means I will be doing less TACIS for the next 4 years or so. So if you want to get your medical calls in, try to do it today or sometime before June, because that's gonna be your time to talk with me. So, uh, but it's some good news for me, but also there are other doctors that are trans that got booted from the military as well that also got jobs in this recent residency match. So we're getting some small victories here and there. Um, so
Well,
I'm sad to
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, so I'm sad to not spend as much time here with y'all, but super excited for what's to come. Um, do you have any announcements for Riverboat Jack before we get into it?
The only things are, if you guys want to see more of me, I'm on Riverboat Jack over on YouTube. I stream every weeknight, and also my partner and I have a trans gender euphoric lingerie line, Imogene Olivia, that you
Ooh,
can check out. And there's going to be a sale for Trans Day of Visibility, so you can check that out, imogeneolivia.com. But that's about it.
yes. So awesome stuff. And real quick, before we get into the poll and everything, I do want to shout out some other things going on this channel since we got a bunch of people now trying to get their calls in. Um, but we have lots of stuff going on at the line as always. Of course, you're here watching TACIS with Jack and myself. And then the next show this weekend is going to be the Sunday show with Matt and Promise. And the After Dark show is going to be with Forrest and Godless Engineer. Then Skeptalk on Monday with Aaron Ra and Aaron Adair. And then Chewed Gum on Tuesday with Alyssa and Taylor. And then I don't think we have our next TACIS schedule figured out yet. So that is stay tuned for the Hang Up and TACIS schedule there. But with that being said, let's get into last week's poll.
Here we go.
All right. Will Senate Dems cave on the anti-trans provisions of Trump's voter disenfranchisement bill? 83% of you said yes, and 17% said no. Riverboat Jack, what do you think about this one?
I mean, I think it's pretty solidly in the no, largely because Senate Republicans, as much as they might want to pass this, need to overcome the filibuster. There's really nothing in it that even Senate Democrats want to really cave on, even if they're kind of in like the anti-trans camp. Like all of the voting provisions there are just completely unacceptable, and there's just not enough Democrats are going to cave on this for it to pass. So I think it's firmly dead in the water. Like Donald Trump is just kind of impotently saying over and over again, end the filibuster. But like the Senate Republicans aren't going to do that because they see the writing on the wall and they think they're going to need it in the near future. So that's my take.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot with this, and I admit I haven't been as much into the news lately, but yeah, this is a thing where people are potentially losing the right to vote with this poll tax. And sure, the Dems cave on a lot of stuff. I'm not going to deny that. But this is like the reason Dems cave is to try to not lose their voter base. Like I get that they try to be extra centrist when that's really not what we need to be going for, but they try to keep getting the votes. Like if there's one thing politicians want, it's to get votes. And if there's a clear divide of like who's going to benefit from like voter these voter bills, then like the Dems are really the ones to suffer from losing these voters. And even the Dems that cave a lot don't want to lose their voters and like their shot to stay in their seats. So
Yeah,
um
they have everything
yeah.
to gain and nothing to lose by opposing this hard line.
Yeah. So I think I agree with you there. Anything else on this one?
I think just, you know, it is true that a lot of Democrats are absolutely willing to sell trans people out, so I totally understand the results of the poll. Um, but it's I think just let's be a little bit more plugged into some of the other extraneous factors that are happening here. That they aren't always under all circumstances going to throw us under the bus.
Yep. If it's for their own self-preservation, they will not throw us under the bus.
Yep.
Unfortunately, but uh all right, let's see this week's poll. All right, this is a fun one. Is it ethical to spend money on Harry Potter knowing it funds J.K. Rowling's transphobia? You can pick yes or no, and I'm sure some people are going to comment some reason why it's okay for them. But we will get into the nitty gritty of this later on. So get your votes in, and we'll discuss it soon. And real quick before we do get into callers, I do also want to mention that you can send us your super chats of $5 or more, and we will read them at the end of the show. And be sure to vote for your favorite or least favorite host. I mean, however you want to do the voting is up to you, but whoever gets the most votes at the end of the show will not have to do a punishment, and the person who gets the fewest votes will have to defend a very silly position. So be sure to get your super chats in, and please like this stream. Hit that like button. If you haven't hit the like button yet, you are wrong. Hit the like button. It takes like less than a second to do so. Share this out. Comment in the side chat. Comment in the comments below after the live is done. All those things help us out. So with that, let's get into some calls.
Let's do it.
Let's talk with Connor. Pronouns are any, all from Kentucky. What would you like to talk about, Connor?
Yeah, so I kind of just wanted to ask about sort of how the intersection of gender and sexuality works in a framework where you're not talking about your sexuality in terms of genitals or like femme or masc. Like, what does it mean to be like gay or lesbian if you're just attracted to the label and not like one of those two other things? Or straight,
mean,
for that matter.
I think it's attraction to a gender identity, you know, right? Like you're attracted to people who identify as men, people who identify as women, broadly as a broad generalization, right?
Yeah, I guess like the position I'm sort of coming from is I'm like pansexual and agender, so my view on those things are kind of more like I don't really have a thing to go on internally for those. So like I guess it's like if I'm a gay man and I'm like looking at other men, but I don't care about like the genitals or whatever, that's fine. And I don't necessarily care if they're a masculine or feminine man. And it's basically just like it's just an internal sense of being a man. What does that necessarily mean that I like don't like women? Like, what about women do I not like besides them saying that they're a woman? Or
I
vice
mean,
versa.
I think that like when we are ascribing sexuality to ourselves, we're kind of making a broad statement. You know, like if you're saying, you know, not if you're saying like a cis woman saying that she's straight, right, is not necessarily saying that she is attracted to every person who identifies as a man. You know, there are going to be men who are more or less attractive to that particular cis woman, and like what qualities are more or less attractive are going to be subjective to that particular woman, right? Like, so what we're saying is kind of not super specific when we are talking about sexuality. It's mostly just a broad strokes general categorization for other people to help kind of like figure us out that we ascribe to.
Okay. And like, I guess what I was talking about was sort of a specific-ish scenario because like I like I understand people who are like, oh yeah, I call myself gay because I just like penis and that's them. And then there are some people who are like, yeah, I'm gay because I sort of like the form of a man, quote unquote, of like a masculine person. But like my partner is a man with long hair, loves pink, all of those things, and doesn't have a penis. So like it's sort of if a person who was ascribing themselves to be gay in that manner was in the same kind of relationship as I am, what would be the thing that they're like attracted to? And I guess the thing that sort of comes to mind is like, you know, you've seen the not sob stories, but like the heartwarming story of woman whose husband turns out to be their wife after 20 years. And it's like those, I understand that because you're attracted to that person, not their genitals or their gender. But like, what does it mean to be like, there are these two identical people in front of you, but one of them says that they're a man, one of them says you're a woman. And you're like, yeah, I would just pick this other person because they have the label man or
Yeah,
woman, respectively.
I think kind of where Riverboat Jack was coming from a minute ago is kind of maybe where I would see this. Like maybe flip it on its head instead of thinking, like I'm using this label to include like to specifically say like who am I attracted to and that kind of stuff. Instead, maybe that's the label that you're communicating to other people, but it's exactly that. Like your attraction is usually to a person. Like you're attracted to a person, and that person may fit multiple different labels. But when you say I'm gay or I'm lesbian or any number of those things, oftentimes that person that you're attracted to falls under certain umbrellas. And so it's a way for you to say, typically, the person that I would be attracted to is under this umbrella. It's not saying that you're not attracted to anybody else, like, because people, like, your sexuality is on a spectrum for pretty much everybody. Like, there's very few people that are 100% attracted to men only or women only or like certain genitals only. Like, that's very, very rare. I think like I'm a person who I would identify as asexual but biromantic. And so I get into some very weird things in my own head of like, okay, but I've had attractions to people sexually, but for the most part, I want nothing to do with genitals. And so you can narrow it down to a lot of these very, very minute details. But at the end of the day, that's not what the label is trying to do. The label is trying to distill all of that down to an easier way to communicate yourself to somebody else or yourself to another partner or potential partner. And so if you say, you know, if you're on a date with somebody and you say, hey, I'm a gay trans man or I'm a lesbian trans woman, it's like, okay, you can get an idea kind of how compatible you are. If you are, let's say you are attracted to each other, but you're not really compatible in that way. maybe you're just not a good fit. And you go on and you find somebody else. And so it's not, I don't think the label is meant to replace thinking through those other details, but it's just, it's an easier way to communicate some of those things. And so I think I think it's okay that when one person says gay, they might mean something different than when another person does. But then you have to think about the utility of when I say this word, what do other people think of? Like, if I'm trying to use this word in a specific way, does the other person know what I mean? And so I think that's where I lean with all of that.
Yeah, it's a shorthand to communicate something that might be, in fact, very complicated. Like, in my right now, I'm thinking of how many men who have said, I'm a straight man, but I wouldn't say no to Idris Elba. I'm a straight man, but that Ryan Gosling, I was watching Project Hail Mary, and boy howdy, he's
We're
attractive.
all gay
Like,
for Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, like there is like a spectrum there, but those people would still probably say like, well, I'm straight. That's just a crazy exception that would never happen, right? And so there's nebulousness, but it's shorthand to try and convey general information. And obviously, if you wanted more specific information, you'd have to like engage in a conversation with that person to figure out like what their preferences are, what they like, what they don't like, because attraction for different people is different.
Okay. Do you think that, like, for people who use those kinds of labels, do you think a lot of people miss out on people they might otherwise enjoy, whether romantically or sexually, where they just kind of exclude that person from their set of potential, like, boyfriends
Yes.
slash girlfriends or
Yes.
partners in general? Do you think that that happens?
Yeah, I think that that is a remnant of kind of how we got here. Like the whole concept of the default straight relationship. And I think there's a lot of issues just with how we're taught to engage with like romantic and sexual partners. I think there's a lot of baggage in our society about how if you are a man, you act in this way and you assume that your partner is going to act in this way. And that's not really realistic. And so you just end up falling into these places that you were told to be in, but don't actually identify with. And so I think a lot of people try to maintain that because it's easier socially to stay within those confines. But I think the more people that start to explore their identities, um, I think it's more freeing to be outside of that. But I think a lot of people still carry that baggage, and I think especially a lot of men carry that baggage because of how like society is a lot more forgiving for like queer women because they're already in this not man category of society. Whereas you have
And they're also
men,
kind of pornified, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah, and then it's the same thing with queer men. Like a lot of queer men are also not considered to be the right kind of man, and so it's a lot easier for some people, or it seems a lot easier for some people to maintain that mask of a cishet man so that they don't become one of those other people. So I do think that more people identify on more of a spectrum than are willing to admit.
Yeah, and I do want to say I don't think that's the problem of labels or general categories. That's more like you like Dr. Ben was saying, like uh the baggage of patriarchy, kind of these historical biases that have been passed down to a lot of people and internalized by a lot of people. And those biases and prejudices are what prevent them from actually exploring their identity beyond kind of these broad categories. Because again, like a lot of people just they choose not to think about it. They're like, well, I'm in this category and I'm just not going to think about it too much. And it's those prejudices that I think we need to work on as a society and kind of address. But the general idea of categories and shorthand for referring to your likes and dislikes, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I guess the situation I'm imagining in my head is like this person who, for example, is like a lesbian woman, has the like I can't even like basically just a cis woman in front of them, but this isn't a cis woman because they're actually a trans man who just is fine with being femme. And like, what does it mean for that lesbian woman to be like, I wouldn't date this person because they're a trans man, even though like it doesn't come with any of the baggage of what might come with being a man. But I guess like that's, I don't know how often that actually happens, but then again, it's not like they'd ever really get a seat at the same table. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, it's also worth noting that like different groups of people who are not, men still internalize elements of the patriarchy and can fall into the same kind of denial of various other categories of people that they might otherwise be interested in, you know?
And I think there's an element too of people feeling like they need to earn their labels.
Mhm.
And I think that's also a result of the patriarchy, and feeling that you don't deserve anything unless what you can prove to society. I think it's also a capitalist thing, but and again, just baseline a human thing.
Men
Uh,
gotta be men gotta be strong and have money, I guess, because those
yeah,
those things are so true and important.
but even so, it's like people having to explain to like friends and family members, like if they were to uh start dating a trans guy, and then it's like, okay, but you said you were a lesbian, why are you dating a man? It's like, and then having to go
I've
through
been
all
in this
those.
exact scenario.
Yep.
Yeah, so I can see like a lot of people feeling like in order to wear the label of lesbian, they have to always be in a relationship with a woman, and like that's not necessarily true. You might be in a relationship with the one exception that we kind of talked about earlier, and so that can be, and this is where it's nice to have, like with friends, have these deeper conversations of, yeah, like here's the term that I use and here's why I use this one. um but I know for people just randomly in public, or like let's say if you were trying to get like a marriage certificate or something, and for some reason you started getting harassed by the people at the courthouse, which hopefully wouldn't happen. But I mean, people ask questions when it's not always appropriate to, and um, so I can see where people don't want that extra step of feeling like they have to prove their identity in some way. But I do think that there are people out there that would be happy outside of that box they
It,
gave themselves. But
it's
Yeah,
sort of
and it is.
secondhand, but
Oh,
literally my partner went through this because they're a trans man and they were dating a trans man before me. And then when they started dating me, their parents asked them like, "So you're still a man, right?" As if suddenly dating a person with a penis over a person with vagina would change their gender suddenly. Like nothing changed. I'm still a man dating men.
um, yeah, the comment about like having to earn your label, I very much resonate with that. I've talked about this a little bit, but when I first started transitioning, I didn't feel like I had earned the label of trans woman. So like I kind of had like this interstitial period where I was like talking about myself as like a non-binary person and was just kind of like I know I'm not cis, but am I a trans woman? Can I call myself that? I'm not sure. And so, it's, the categories and like the feeling of needing to earn it, it's all so much bullshit that we've inherited from, wider society in so many
Hierarchy.
different cases.
Yeah, I understand that as well. Like it's something that I felt very, because like, before I kind of understood myself to be agender, I was a gay man, and then a bisexual man, and then a pansexual man, and then now I'm where I'm at now. And I like through that time having to sort of like almost like prove that I'm gay by being more, you know, to be a little derogatory, limp-wristed. Like I had to be very effeminate, and oh my gosh. But I mean, now those are things I just enjoy doing kind of in my free time, but not really to prove myself to anybody. But I understand that sort of proving the label. It's I think something that most, if not like 99% of the queer community has to go through in some sort of way, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a kind of a
Hell,
deconstruction
even
of
out of the queer community.
yeah, kind of a deconstruction of like patriarchal ideas of gender and sexuality. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think I had my question thoroughly answered. I really enjoyed talking to both of you, and I'm glad to have been able to hear this. I was genuinely sort of like on the fence of wondering how that sort of works, and like in my head, without like using it in accusatory terms, like at what point is it just kind of like sexism? But I think I've got a better understanding of it now that I can like safely put that away, and I really appreciate
Oh,
talking to you all. So I won't take any more of your time.
awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for your call.
Absolutely.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
have a great day.
Bye.
All right.
A productive call.
Yeah, that was an
Go.
interesting one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think, Jack? Do you want to take one more call and then get in? I think we'll do one more call and then we'll get into
Yeah.
the poll after that.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna talk with Pip, they, them from the UK. Pip, you are
Hello.
live on the line with Ben and Riverboat Jack. What you got for us today?
Hello there. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you
Yep.
great.
Awesome. Right. My topic to today is quite something that's been bugging me for a little while, because one of those arguments, that anti-trans arguments, that seems, simple on the surface, but I can't quite wrap my head around, and that's the claim about sex-based rights. Because while we can say till the cows come home that, sex is a bimodal spectrum, and that it is not nearly as simple as many people would like it to believe, the primary gender critical talking point seems to continue to hammer home that the social segregation that we have in places like changing rooms and bathrooms and single-gendered facilities are all based on sex. And so they claim that, their sex-based right is being violated if they include trans people. And that's just something that I don't feel I have an adequate counter for, because it always feels like if I try and bring up the complexities of sex, or how gender is, a great defining force in, a person's identity, it always feels like it's answering a different question to the one that is asked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the way I would approach this is with actually pushing back and saying that those aren't sex-based rights, those are gender-based rights. Like those are gendered spaces and not sexed spaces. And like a great way I like to trap people in this is like, let's talk about bathrooms. Like, how do we enforce segregation of bathrooms? Like, what factors do people rely on with that? It's almost always presentation and assumptions made about people, which is assumptions about their gender, not necessarily about their sex. So unless they're going to start genital inspections, karyotyping, that kind of thing, like in order to use the bathroom, they are not making a sex-based distinction, because then they would have to back that up and say, like, here's how we are demonstrating the sex-based distinction. Well, that's not what they're doing. They're making assumptions, which I think relate more to somebody's gender expression than they do with their actual sex. So that's how I would do it. Jack, what about you?
Yeah, like you were saying really succinctly, like these people are trying to create a seemingly obvious reason for why their particular brand of discrimination is actually totally full of merit, and they're using a semantic trick to try and do that. It is not, in fact, their position that they want or are looking to actually make spaces that are patrolled by sex. They are, in fact, using gender as a proxy for that. Um, it's just a way for them to launder their talking points.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, as Ben said, there isn't really an accurate way to understand it, or rather enforce it, except through basically vibes. Because, you know, what they expect is that they can always tell. They always have this stereotype, this model in their mind of all these masculine traits and all these feminine traits that people cannot escape from. When, as we've seen with Aman Khalif, this is complete bullshit. Someone can be a cis woman, you know, look vaguely masculine, and the second someone points a finger and says that's a man, they instantly believe it, and they'll take whatever confirmation bias it takes to, you know, well, confirm that, to enforce that, you know, wrong assumption. And they are literally just guessing and will not accept that they are indeed wrong. And I think that it's also weaponizing a very distinct social bias in that we are so used to what is typical. We are so used to people with a penis going here, people without one going there, that it becomes second nature, and it becomes difficult to really question if it's necessary at all. And again, because that's the norm, that people tend to roll with it. And I think the amount of weaponization of that is what really needs to be challenged, in that, you know, gender really is the defining social factor because it's all based on expression and typical traits. And anyone who says they can magically tell, you know, what sex someone has, even if they are presenting as 100% femme, is completely lying.
Yep.
Yeah, and I do want to just mention the fact that a lot of those assumptions and a lot of those masculine and feminine traits, as people would say that you can't escape them, a lot of that is based on a Eurocentric view of beauty standards and feminine standards, masculine standards. And so overwhelmingly, if you took the people, I mean, and you can do this like with the people trying to like being called out for like supposedly being trans, a lot of those people are like not white. And so it's wild how a lot of these just human traits, like these are traits that people can have on a spectrum, uh, and any combination of them, and it's just like to assign those things as male or female when it's just these are human traits. It's like the same thing when people take character qualities like uh logic versus emotion or whatever and say, well, one is masculine. Like, no, these are all human things. Like, stop pretending like there's this separation that doesn't need to exist. But I know I've called out some gender criticals for using some racist messaging, and that's a lot of what's happening here too. Like establishing these rigid categories for people just doesn't work out well, and history does not think kindly of people who have made those distinctions in the past. So
Yeah, and I would just add, it's,
Yeah,
you know, in our society, like, people typically informally patrol and like control the status quo of like other people's gendered identity. You can think of like schoolboys making fun of each other for acting like girls or whatever. That's like just
Oh,
an
I know
example.
that.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the gender criticals. What they want to do is formalize that informal policing that happens, in all a myriad of different ways. They want to formalize that to have, a actual policing of these status quo ideas of what it means to be a man or a woman, and it's a desperate attempt to regain a kind of idealized status quo from the past that never was actually like a real thing. It's kind of an appeal to a um fictional period of time.
Yeah, and ironically, it's those same standards that actually helped me to understand that I was non-binary. Because growing up, the word gay was used as a stick to beat me over the head, and it was
Mhm.
almost universally attributed to feminine traits, to the point where I couldn't even let myself look at a commercial for quote unquote girls' toys for fear of being called gay. And
Mhm.
nowadays, I'm embracing that femininity. I'm embracing that genderqueer chaos incarnate, as I like to say, and I'm a lot happier. And while I will still generally use like men's facilities for the sake of keeping the peace and not drawing too much attention, I really do not want to be confined into the box of masculine and feminine stereotypes. And in fact, it's the gender critical people who, as you say, are enforcing that because they are enforcing, cisnormativity on, mass. They say that they are, don't want to quote unquote trans masculine women or feminine men or so on and so forth, and yet they're doing exactly that. And as we've seen with both Imam Khalif and Michelle Obama, any non-white person who looks vaguely masculine is now instantly classified as a man without any due reason whatsoever.
Yeah. And like that is, you can see like the gender critical movement and uh, conservative movements in general embracing that idea and running with it and expanding it to include really anyone that they just want to try and slander or who they believe is, making the world too woke, you know. There's the whole conspiracy being pushed by Candace Owens that like the first lady of France is actually a secret trans woman. There's like a whole subset of like transvestigation as like a method, and that's kind of been taking off in these gender critical spaces as well.
Oh yeah, that can actually be hilarious because there are so many people who are even J.K. Rowling herself has been transvestigated and called a man because of the shape of her jaw. And that's just how utterly batshit it goes. And I think that we can and should use that as a way to show that it's an own goal, if you'll pardon the soccer term, show that it's, really proving our point and not the ones that they want to, and just how utterly absurd the whole standard is to begin with.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for this productive conversation. It's really helped me to straighten out things. And I shall leave you with a brief bit of wisdom on why linguistic labels rarely ever make sense, in that a stick of butter is just a loaf of milk. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you, Pip. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for your call.
You
Farewell.
too. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, let's get into this week's poll.
Heck yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So, is it ethical to spend money on Harry Potter knowing it funds J.K. Rowling's transphobia. Jack, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think pretty clearly no. Like we know that the money goes to J.K. Rowling. We know that it then goes to any number of these anti-trans organizations, and it's just it's you know, you can only separate the art from the artist so much, and I don't think we can do that really when the art and the artist are directly financially linked like they are in this particular case.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know there are people out there who like, the fantasy of the stories, which I still kind of question that because there's a lot of racist garbage. There's a lot of stuff in those stories that is just not not really ethical.
Oh,
And I mean,
I went back and I read some of the parts pertaining to like the house elf slavery stuff.
mm,
It's genuinely shocking. She took like all of the pro-slavery arguments and was just like, what if there was a fantasy creature that like was happy to be a slave? It's like genuinely
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, it's really bad. So like looking back, I'm like, oh no, this is actually something I don't want to support at all. There are plenty better children's books out there. I mean, I'm a hardcore Percy Jackson fan myself, but I've always been into Greek mythology and all that kind of stuff. But like, I'm gonna go a step further than this poll question. Like, yeah, because we know. Sorry, I'm still getting over a cold this week, but um, like a lot of us know that it's not ethical to spend money on J.K. Rowling. Like, we know not to go buy like Harry Potter merchandise, games, like all that stuff. But like I'm gonna go a step further and say like don't even interact with the posts, don't interact with her, like even negatively, right? Because if we think about how the algorithms work, it works based on engagement, and it doesn't really matter a lot of the time if your engagement is positive or negative, it is still engagement, and that boosts the content. So if you want to not help put money in J.K. Rowling's pocket, just do not engage with any of it, because even like a hate comment or whatever still gives them feedback that more people want to see this ad. So I think like if you really, really want to engage with the universe of Harry Potter, you should probably like find fan fiction or something that is not actually tied to J.K. Rowling. Like find somebody's fiction that they um like that they wrote themselves. And I think that's a better way to participate in that kind of stuff. But just like don't give her your time and don't give her your money.
Also, like there are so many cool young adult like worlds out there to like get invested into. You know, like whether it's we were talking about Aragon prior to the show going live. We were also talking about, you know, Redwall. Like there are so many cool series that you can get into or like participate in that aren't directly funding like bigotry. It you know, I just think you know, I don't know, just look at what's out there. There's so many cool books.
Yes. And with that, I got distracted for a second because there's somebody there's somebody who called in uh with a contentious topic. And like right as I was getting ready to like take this person, they dropped. So it's something about like being dared to call in, and I'm saying you didn't meet the dare. Like you called and then you dropped. Like you didn't even get on the line. We're
Yeah,
about to take you. So uh
I
put your
wanted to
money
hear
where your
about the
mouth
joke.
is.
I wanted to hear about the joke of
Yeah.
transgender ideology. Come on. Tell us a funny
Yeah.
joke.
Well, I guess we won. So because you can't even be brave enough to talk to our faces. So
It's crazy to me, like, so many people call into other line shows to talk and debate trans issues, but when it comes to, like, actually calling into a show hosted by trans people, y'all chicken out every single time. Like,
yeah.
what what is actually the deal with you people? Like, you just want to be abstractly bigoted? Is it because you don't want to be bigoted to us because you're afraid it comes across as rude? Like, what? Are you just unaware that your ideology is bankrupt and bigoted, and you don't want to like actually encounter how bigoted it is by calling in? Like, it just seems like maybe your bigotry is full of cowardice and without merit.
Oh, I
And
think somebody's calling back in,
there you
so maybe
go.
we can. Someone's calling back in. We'll see if they get through. I'm gonna keep. We can keep vamping for a second because I don't want this person to drop.
Yeah,
So
yeah, come on, call in and make comedy great
yeah,
again, guys. You know, like,
yes,
do like what's the deal? You have so many funny jokes to tell us.
right. And I guess another is it might be another minute or so to get that person screened in. So do we have any other announcements to share while we're waiting
Um,
for them?
you know, I can't think of any um at the moment.
I've got trivia night tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time over on my channel, so everybody
Oh,
come
heck yeah.
hang out over there. Uh, and it's a really fun
Uh,
time. Anybody can play from side chat. We use Kahoot, so anybody is welcome to join us.
Also, yeah, some excellent young adult recommendations in chat right now. Warrior cats,
Mm,
and Animorphs. You know, like the Animorphs universe is like weirdly very detailed and deep. There's a whole lot of different stuff you can engage with when it comes to like fantasy and sci-fi out there for young adults. And it just kind of seems
yes,
like broaden your horizons beyond Harry Potter, folks.
right. There's way better fiction out there. Um, yeah, this person's getting screamed. I will as soon as this person gets through. Like, oh, they chickened out again. What
Couldn't
is up with
maintain.
that?
Like,
Okay.
again, you just have to be like a normal human being to make it through the call screening process, and y'all can't even manage to do that. That's how fucked up you guys are.
Right. Anyway, I guess we'll take one of these other calls for now. But like if people want to argue with us, like we are ready. We are ready for this call. Oh, it sounds like maybe they had bad audio. Um okay, we'll see if they call back in. But let's chat with can you see the call in studio? It
Yeah.
do you have a
I'm
preference on?
I'm good with either.
Okay,
I
I'll just go in
Yeah.
order then. Let's talk with Natty, they, them from Brazil. Natty, you are live on the line with Ben and Riverboat Jack. What is your question today?
Well, hi. I
Howdy.
was not expecting to call you right now. Okay, so I put on the screener my question about definitions and the meanings of words. I've made a few notes here, but it's mainly talking about like the nature of humans like try to label everything. I've been talking about this for a little while now. I want to talk to this to the first person that made me think about this was Jovan.
Mm.
Since he talked about like humans having schemas about things. And I've been wanting to talk about this for quite a bit of time, so much so that I want to make a joke about Tom Scott being dead, but now he's back at YouTube, so that joke doesn't work. Yeah. uh, but it's basically about how like we tend to try to label things, even though we can even label them correctly. Because the joke about Tom Scott comes from his video about words and how we can even really decide what words like are, like what counts as a word
Hmm.
and like maybe that is like the one big obstacle that a lot of you know especially transphobes the whole like what is a woman thing comes from.
Yeah, I mean, like semantics are really interesting, and like etymologies, how words come to have the meaning that they do now, and like kind of the social agreements that are constantly being forged every day, every second. by kind of our usage of words, whether the creation of new meanings or the destruction of old ones. Um, there's a whole field of study when it comes to words and how language evolves and changes. And depending on, which particular school of thought you adhere to, there are many different ways to kind of talk about how language evolves, whether it's words that previously had negative connotations taking on positive ones, or positive words taking on negative connotations, or words that mean something very specific becoming far more general, or words that are very general becoming very specific. You have this constant changing of things. A great example of this is actually the word woman, because the word woman has an etymology that goes back to Old English, wifmon, which didn't mean like woman as we understand it today. It means like wife human. Like that's all that means. And the word like mon, or man as we would say it today, like that meant just any human being. And so, like, words have just kind of changed over time, over centuries, and sometimes that change happens really fast. A really good example of that would be the word literally. Literally has been formally had its definition amended to mean not literally anymore, because people began using it in more general connotation, or in more general ways. And a lot of people didn't like that. There were so many, and to this day, so many people who hate the new usage of the word literally. And there are, big battles about that online and in different English departments across the country. And so, like, the semantics are fascinating and interesting. Um, but the when you really dig down into it, the reason words can be so nebulous and change so much is because we're fleshy blobs doing our best. Like, I right now am inhaling oxygen and then expelling it out of my mouth hole and modulating it with a variety of different muscles in my body. And then that's being transmitted to you, where it's vibrating in your ears, turning into electrical signals and going through your brain. And you are somehow deriving meaning from that. And that is crazy on its own. And so, what is actually pretty incredible is that we are able to even share definitions of words in the way that we do and derive information from that kind of communication. And it's a wonder that our communication isn't even more all over the place. And so, you are definitely onto something with the fact that, like, there are people who are upset because words have changed their meanings over time, both in formalized definitions in dictionaries and also in informal usage between people in the world. And it's just like a really interesting process. And I wish people who get hung up on, like, the definition of woman, for example, would have a lot more intellectual curiosity about how we even have these words in the first place. Because I think if they followed up with that curiosity, it would kind of solve a lot of their problems. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at.
Right, and like along those lines, like I love the etymology discussion, but like the English bias, like with all these discussions, like okay, we're gonna have these big gotcha points about, oh, but what is a woman? Not thinking that woman is an English word to describe somebody, whereas different languages have different origins of those words, and those words mean different things. And so if your argument only holds up under one language, then like it's not as much of a gotcha argument like that, because if their whole point is words that define people into these boxes, and those are the same for all humans across time and geography, then maybe your argument should carry some weight in more than one language. But It's funny how that point's never really brought up. So I really do love this discussion.
I think it's fun they brought up other languages because this whole thing started with me with Jovan talking about schemas, and if I am not misrepresenting his point, it's about what we think of things, what we learn about something as we grow up and we educate ourselves, and that schema is what we think of when we, I don't know, hear the word chair. We know we see a chair, but we
Mhm.
different chairs for different people, I guess, because not everyone's gonna have the same chair. Everyone's gonna think of the
Mhm.
same chair, and maybe the thing is that putting labels on something that is so personal as a schema is a, a big cause of conflict. Where like
Mhm.
what I say is, even going back to like what is a woman, what I say is a woman is probably not what you think when you say a woman. So trying to put a definitive label on something as like mutable or something as, I don't think, I don't know if I'm saying that word right, mutable. I'm gonna say just because something as immutable as thoughts is kind of the a big thing that's like, yeah, of course they're not gonna be exactly 100% on point. It changes.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why, we use shorthands to try and communicate this nebulous information about ourselves. And having or trying to construct kind of a shared schema is like an ongoing project. And it's an ongoing project for things that are high stakes, but it's also an ongoing project for things that are low stakes. For example, like my partner and I, when we first met, like we had conversations and deliberately set out to create kind of a shared schema for our jokes and our references. Like, she didn't know about the different things that I was referencing, and I didn't know the different things she was referencing. And so, you're constantly kind of constructing that schema. And there are certain people who like kind of create a schema for themselves and then want to reject any new additions to that schema. They get protective of those ideas. And I think that that is a component of where kind of especially transphobia can be rooted in.
I kind of want to call back to something Ben said in Connor's
Mhm.
call, like because we're talking about labels, right? And I think that's another thing that comes from the nature of humans because we all like we're all social animals and we all want to be in a group. And earning your label kind of is not even just like a sexuality thing, but it's like in a lot of things. I come from background of a lot of games. There's a lot of elitism in games, a lot of it. And I think the whole earning your label thing is a thing that we all just kind of do instinctually, just like with the whole labeling everything, where we kind of want people in our group to relate to us exactly, which is pretty flawed, but at the same time, it could be some. I don't know the history. I'm just talking. I have no idea if I'm right when I'm saying this, but I think it could be maybe something that humans kind of evolved doing, where we just kind of like, oh, this group of people does act the same as me, so they're clearly closer to me, so I'm gonna gravitate towards them. Group Y doesn't, so therefore they're not like me. And I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly how it happened. Like because you can't get super nuanced with every detail of every person. Yeah, so we have these we have this ability to kind of distill people down to a pattern of certain things, and this is where things like I think this is one of the main reasons why Harry Potter is actually so popular is because of the house system and that they base it on personality traits and people feel like they identify with certain label because of those characteristics. Meanwhile, all of those things are like no different than a horoscope because everybody has all of those traits in varying quantities. And like so many people will be like, I am 100% Ravenclaw because this and this and this. Like, okay, so you're just focusing only on the traits that include you in that category and excluding all the traits that fit you in any other category. Like these are just human traits. And a lot of those things are things that you can be conditioned to have or grow to have, like Hufflepuff being the hardworking, loyal house. Like those are traits that you develop by maturing. Like work ethic is something you sure you can be born with you know, a higher amount of that, but a lot of that is how you are raised, how you choose to grow in your career and your goals and all that stuff. So, and it's like people identify with astrology largely because it assigns you to a group based on your date of your birth, but also based on your characteristics, supposedly. And people want to identify with these things. And yeah, so I think like people inherently just do not want to let go of these labels. Um, but yeah, I think there's some utility to having them, and also just a lot of this garbage we get with having those.
Yep.
It's funny you talk about horoscopes because it's like, here's the weekly horoscope for Leo. You're gonna have a difficult time. No shit. Have you seen the world?
Right, like, and we could do that, like, facetiously do that for different trans identities, like, "Oh, and here's the horoscope this week for trans women. Uh, this week someone's gonna be a bitch to you, and, trans men, you're gonna go try to do manly things and you're gonna feel weird about it." Like we can do this for everyone of like whatever labels they use. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous at the end of the day. Like these words don't really mean anything except for what we assign to them. So yeah, the whole argument just it's interesting how all these things work together.
Yeah, it's just these things are pretty fascinating to talk about and like think about. The problem is that the people who should be thinking about this, that like the transphobes, they don't think about this.
Well, yeah, because a lot of transphobes embrace kind of thought terminating cliches that prevent them from kind of pursuing any kind of curiosity they might have on the issue, right? Like that's kind of the invoke what is invoked with what is a woman. They're not actually making an appeal to a definition. They've turned it into a thought terminating cliche, so they don't have to think about it in any more depth. You know, and it's
Yeah,
unfortunate because curiosity is like the way out. You know, I'm very convinced of that.
and like you don't have to be super smart to think about this. I'm not smart. I'm not really that smart, and I think about this. It's not difficult. It's not a matter of education. You don't have to be that smart to get these things.
Yeah, you just have to be curious
Like
and like
I
follow where
cannot
that
tell
leads
you
you.
exactly like what for example I'm listening to a lot of debates and such like with Jovan and the line, and a lot of people talk about a lot of things that come up is like, oh, the syndromes that makes people intersex. I can't tell you any of that. I'm not absorbing it that well. I don't have education on these. I know that y'all make sense though. I could look it up and check everything and would check out. I can do that. I just don't. I'm not gonna be sit here and talk exactly what causes it because I don't have education in that.
Yeah, 1000%.
All right. Kind of
Uh,
any last things to discuss? I think we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon.
well,
Anything to
the
leave
only
us with?
only the only real thing to leave y'all with is that even in sites like AO3 mentioned, uh, original works, a lot of good stuff there for young adults, and a lot of good stuff. A lot of original
Mhm.
works that are really good there. They're just waiting to be discovered.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Natty. Uh, we're gonna move on to the next call, but thank you so much for your call and have a great rest of your day.
You've been a
Thank
delight.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
We've had so many productive calls
Yeah.
today. It's felt really nice. I and here I was like prepping to throw down. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, we still got availability for some more contentious calls. So and that's like when we say contentious call, like we're yes, we mean the people who don't accept trans people as existing and all that stuff, but we're also interested in talking with people who maybe are trans or are an ally but have a hot take that you don't think we agree with. Like, let's say if you're a trans person and you like Harry Potter, we'd love to chat with you. Like, give us a call. So it could be any hot takes you got related to trans issues. We are here. Let's chat with Train, they, them from Texas. Train, you are live on the line with Ben and Jack. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I don't know if I'm trans or not, or if I'm what I should identify as. I'm just looking for some advice, if you guys would oblige.
Yeah,
Yeah.
elaborate.
Okay, well, let's start from the beginning, shall we? When I was little, I've always wished to be different. I looked at my sister, looked at my mom, looked at the girls and women on TVs and in cartoons and stuff, and I'd want to be like them. I'd want to have the, this is going to sound weird, but have the body like them, have society react the way they would looking at people like that. And as I've grown up, I've discovered that's what gender envy was. And I don't know how to deal with that in a healthy way. Or in
Okay, I
any
mean,
way, sort of.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're kind of pretty clear on what you want, right?
I don't know how to get it, though. Like, where do
Um,
I start? How do I get the funds for it?
I
How do I
mean,
deal with the backlash from like society? Society sucks.
yeah, society, that is the tricky part right now, right? Like, I relate to you quite a bit, because growing up, I also would see like women on TV and stuff and be like, oh man, I wish I could be that. And it wound up being for me something where, in middle school, I would like have vivid daydreams about uh getting hit by a car, because then if I got hit by a car but I didn't die, maybe I would need extensive reconstructive surgery, and then maybe there'd be a whoopsie daisy and I'd get reconstructive surgery to look like a woman, and then I'd just be like, oops, nothing I can do about it, and I would just like be able to live my life as a woman. And I want to be clear, I didn't think of myself as trans at that time, but that really should have been a wake up call for me. Um, and then it took me a really long time to kind of get to a place where I was like, well, I've tried everything to fit in with the gender identity that I've been assigned, since birth. And like I didn't really know where to start either. And so where I started was I bought clothes for myself that I liked and just started experimenting with, is that like, what is this? Open up this box of feelings that I've had for so long and see what this is. Is this like a cross-dressing thing? Is this like an actual gender identity thing? Is this, what is this? What does that mean for me, and where am I most comfortable? Because where you might be comfortable, where I might be comfortable might be different places. But eventually then I was like, well, I'll also try makeup. And so I tried makeup and I found that very affirming as well as the clothing and the shoes. And then my next step was that I started going out in public little by little. I started with very low stakes interactions in public, whether like at like a gas station. You just walk into the gas station, buy a snack, leave. And as I did that, I built up confidence. Eventually I was going into like, a restaurant and sitting down and having food, leaving. And I worked my way up. And that I think could have been a lot easier if I had a more supportive social circle, like if I had joined like a trans support group or something like that. And then, because all of this was happening for me as an adult, right? And so then I realized, after one of my very close friends took his own life, I saw a lot of parallels between his situation and my situation. And I realized, oh, if I don't transition, this isn't something that I can just like keep a secret and keep to myself my entire life. I actually have to do this. Otherwise I could wind up like him. And so I started HRT. And for me, because I'm an adult, I was able to go into an informed consent clinic and, tell them my reasons. I had blood drawn. And then, like, about a week later, they were like, yep, you're good. Here's a prescription for HRT. And I started taking that and haven't looked back ever since. And so that's kind of my process. And what your process might look like could be different. Um, depending on where you live, especially right now in the United States, your process might look different. And what might be safe for you might be different. And that is really, really scary. Um, and I know I'm throwing a lot out there. I don't know if Ben wants to say anything or if you want to say anything, but
Yeah. I mean, I just want to say, like, you coming in here and the kind of the first way you were describing things, like, I know it's very scary for you to put that into words. I remember how scared I was to start putting any of this into words, but and I know you said that this may sound weird. Like, no, what you were saying, I think both of us and a lot of people in the side chat were thinking, "Oh yeah, no, this is exactly how I felt," and so your experience is very much shared. And that being said, though, I don't want you to look at anybody in this community and think that your experience has to line up with ours. And so if you look back and you think, "Oh, actually, that's I don't think I'm trans or any of that." Like it's up to you to kind of figure that out for yourself. But some of the things that you've said do line up with a very common experience that people have, and so I want you to feel some solidarity in that. Hopefully, and yeah, it's difficult to kind of set yourself up on that path, and I know that kind of the very beginning is often the hardest because as you're, kind of coming out to yourself, and figuring out what routes to go down, there's a lot of potential. There's also a lot of anxiety maybe with the risks of like, what if I'm not going to look the way I want to? What if I'm not going to pass the way that I want to? And that's very real. Um, and I would say that if you have like some strong feelings of dysphoria with your body the way it is right now, or feelings of anxiety related to how you relate to the world around you, all that stuff, I do think it's worth looking for a therapist who is affirming of trans people. And so you could explore that in a safe, controlled environment. Because let's say uh, you have those therapy visits and you just leave all that stuff between you and them. None of that has to go anywhere else. Like, and if you explore that in that controlled setting and you decide, you know what, I actually don't want to go forward with this, then cool. You learned something about yourself. You got to explore a bit. But then if you decide, I do need to take some more steps and I do want to socially transition or medically transition, then you kind of have a support system built in that therapist as well to say, how do I start strategizing like doing this and how do I work with my relationships and all that stuff. So I highly recommend if you're able to do that. I know the state that you're in may make it difficult um, to do that, especially more anonymously. Are you in a good situation as far as like your family? Are you depending on people at home or are you kind of supporting yourself?
Well, I currently live with my family. My one of my siblings was exploring their own identity and came out as trans, but decided they weren't. So my family's supportive of everything.
Okay,
Um, but I
that's great.
still my main concern was like, what if I'm just like lying to myself? What if I'm not doing stuff that I should be doing? What if like
That
I
is
feel as if I'm lying to myself sometimes.
that is a thought that I have thought to myself so many times. And again, that's another thing that you feel like you're not trans enough. You feel like you're making a wrong decision by even having these thoughts or having this conversation. But like that is again a more common experience than you recognize at this point.
Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of trans folks go through a lot of self-doubt. And I would just say, at the very least, cis people don't tend to agonize over whether or not they're trans. Um, that might not tell you exactly what your gender identity might be, other than not cis, you know?
I've heard that
And
before.
yeah,
Like,
like
cis people don't think, what would life be like as a girl? They just like, why would I ever think that?
yeah, and like I grew up hearing like other people being like, yeah, if I was a girl, I'd I'd love it for like a day. And I was like, oh, okay, so like it's normal for other guys to like want to be girls. And then I never realized that they were just talking about like being able to touch boobs. You know, they weren't
Yeah.
actually wanting to be women in perpetuity. You know, they didn't actually want to change their gender identity. They just were making jokes about touching boobs. And so that for me was a huge realization of just like, oh, men aren't sitting around constantly being sad that they're not girls. That's not a thing that cis men do. And for me, that was a really big, and it was a really hard realization for me. Like I did not want to have that realization. And but yeah, it helped clarify things for me quite a bit.
Hmm. Like, if there was a button and you could go back in time and be a girl, be born a girl, and stuff like that, you would press that button. So
Yep.
people don't think about that, right? People probably wouldn't press that button.
Yep.
What are your thoughts,
Well,
Train?
my main concern is how I'm gonna afford things, because I don't have a job right now. I'm waiting for callbacks, but like most of the places here in Texas are anti everything except
Yep.
straight.
Yeah, so that might take some
And
time. Because yeah, it does get expensive, and it's something that unfortunately you are going to need to have some stable income, because once you start, you're going to need to keep doing it and keep renewing the prescription, and get labs and all that stuff. So and especially with the kind of side effect of HRT is that your own endocrine system kind of stops making a lot of those hormones on its own. So that's especially where you need to be able to keep getting access to those medications. As of right now, there are still like some concierge medicine services that do prescribe HRT for adults in Texas. That'll do it through telehealth. It can be a bit more expensive though, because there's a subscription service to essentially have access to these providers um, via telehealth. So there are some ways to kind of work with that in your state. The thing is though, income, and then um, kind of being able to, like, if you needed to stay on this medication, like what's going to happen in the future as far as legislation in Texas, and all that, because you may need to have an exit plan as far as that goes. But apart from kind of
yeah,
waiting
yeah.
for being yeah apart from waiting for medication to start being available, you can start thinking about social things that you can do. That I know that there's a lot of risk management you have to do in your own head about how much do I want to change my outward appearance going into public, but you can even start taking some steps, like if you want to grow your hair out, if you want to paint your nails, if you want to try out some names, if you want to try out some pronouns with friends of yours, like things that aren't going to put you in an unsafe position kind of before medically transitioning. I think those things may be helpful for you as well.
And I would just also say, I want to echo Dr. Ben's statement about getting a therapist who specifically helps serve like gender nonconforming folks, because that can be a really, really helpful way for you to uh, make plans and discuss what you want, and also get a pretty vital line of support, especially if you're not ready to come out to friends and family and be out in the world, especially. And I would also just note, if you're wondering about uh, how you would even start with HRT, I know Planned Parenthood provides gender affirming care, and typically under like an informed consent model. And I believe that they do that also still in Texas for, again, people over the age of 18. So um, that might be a place for you to start if that is something you're interested in. But
Yeah, and I believe they are still doing that. Yep.
yeah, but I also just be prepared, especially as you kind of progress in this journey of self-discovery. You might want to be moving to a place that's a bit safer for trans folks.
Also, look
Yeah, I
into
want
something, and this is
to.
this is for it's for everybody out
Sorry.
there who's using medications. Look into something like GoodRx or some kind of like medication coupon program, because some of those controlled substances, especially like testosterone, can be very expensive. And so get those savings if you can.
Yep.
I've heard good things about GoodRx, but I've also heard bad things about it, so I haven't looked into it.
Yeah, it depends on the medication. Some forms of HRT like do fall under GoodRx, like, and it also depends on the pharmacy that you use as well. So like you kind of have to do some shopping around and make sure that your prescription is covered under GoodRx, or you look into another program. But it can be worth it if it is covered under there.
Okay, well, still wondering how I'm going to afford everything, but so I've talked to my fiance about it, and she's started like looking into feminine clothing and stuff that might fit me, but she hasn't done much anything. And
Yeah,
while I appreciate her efforts, I'm a little nervous about it.
and it's absolutely okay to be nervous. It's scary. And like, as you grow confidence in, who you are, whoever that might be, like it does get easier. It really does. Um, but starting is the hardest part. And I'd argue, even grappling it with it the way you have, I think you've already gotten over the hardest point of realization, where you're even kind of exploring these ideas already. And everything else, if it's any consolation, is a bit easier. Not to say that it's easy, but um, it does get easier.
Hmm.
You just have to stick with it, huh?
Yeah, it's one of those things. My therapist gave me some advice, that like, take strength in the knowledge that there are, millions of other people around the world who have taken steps in on this path before you, and that they wind up out okay. Like, there are trans people out there living their best lives, happy, healthy, safe, and you can do that too. um and the really just take some kind of courage in that path that a lot of us have had to walk before.
I was playing Baldur's Gate recently, and there was a quote that stuck with me. Courage is found in the battle with fear, not in the defeat of it.
Yep.
Yep.
So
It
I've
yeah.
got to be courageous and do what I think is right for me, not what's right for everyone else.
Yeah, and being courageous doesn't mean not feeling fear, and it is okay to be
Doing
scared.
stuff regardless.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got this.
Anything else we could help you
Okay,
with,
well,
Train?
No, it's been very, very insightful. I need to think on some things, and I really, really appreciate both of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
And we've got a whole community inside chat that are cheering you on right now. So definitely go read those comments. I don't always say it for people to go read the comments, but go read the chat right now. People really want to send you some encouragement, and you've got a community here. So feel free to join us in side chats every week, and we'll give you the we'll give you the boost that you need.
Yeah, you are not alone.
Yeah, and I need to find one, a therapist, although I need to pay for it, and then two, a community that I can be free and open with. Only really person I can do that is my fiance. So it's kind of how do I say it? It sucks, but I'm glad I can be open with her. I just need to find people I can be open with, share my interests, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there are groups out there.
Yeah,
to find them, that's the
we're gonna
problem.
have to yeah, we're gonna have to move on to another call train. But definitely let us know some updates if you get them, and we're happy to help you with if more questions come up as well. So thank you for your call.
Yeah, thank you guys again, and I'll leave so you guys can get the more entertaining ones.
You've been
All
lovely.
right.
Thank you so much for calling
Yeah.
in.
Have a great day, Train.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. All right, we got a spicy one right now. So we're gonna talk with Curtis. Him from Canada. Curtis, you are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Riverboat Jack. What would you like to talk about today?
Howdy.
Well, I started off as a Democrat. I voted for Obama. I voted for Clinton. I actually even voted for Kamala Harris. But I didn't necessarily agree with her positions on trans rights and trans issues. So now I've kind of moved more towards independent. I have a lot of issues with a lot of stances, positions on trans ideology, trans positions. I'll start off with spaces. I seen today there was a Senate bill hearing in New Hampshire, Senate Bill 552, and a trans woman had testified in front of the Senate. I believe it was state level, and I'll read the message that they gave, and I guess we could start from there, right? It says, the trans woman said, if you are a woman with a vulva and you are uncomfortable seeing a woman with a penis, too bad, you have to get over it. Now, I heard that with my wife this morning, and she was even offended, and she's kind of like in the middle. So we could start from there. I have a lot of issues with that approach. Not only that approach, but just the whole concept of, biological males are in women's spaces. And basically, it's not like this was something that was negotiated. This was kind of like pushed on society. So I want to hear what your views are on
Curtis,
that and what you have.
I have a question for you.
Yeah. Sure, go ahead.
Well, I have a question. Yeah, what do you think goes on in those women's spaces, like in a locker room? Like if you were to walk into there's an ambulance.
Are you okay, Curtis?
I'm sorry.
Are you okay?
I'm closing the window right now. I have nothing to do with that.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but if you were to walk into a women's locker room, do you know what people might be doing in there?
Women are usually undressing or dressing, or sometimes they're in front of the mirror, using the shower or using the bathroom facilities.
Yeah, so like a lot of times, and this is my own personal experience because I was assigned female at birth. I've spent a lot of time in women's locker rooms. A lot of people are very private when they're in spaces like that. I'm not saying that everybody is, but
yeah,
I want to my question is, how likely is it for somebody who is a trans woman to be out there like in the middle of the locker room completely naked, showing everything off to people? Like, do you think that that is a realistic,
That's
common situation that's
yes, it
happening in
is
women's locker rooms?
okay. That's the problem because I'm someone that actually before I decided to kind of navigate away from the Democratic Party and go more independent, I did a lot of research. So I know you could maybe with a lot of people you could kind of give these examples, but I actually very learned about these examples. There is hundreds of incidences of trans women inside of change rooms, and they've exposed their penis. They've had hard-ons.
Okay, name one.
They've been in their
Name one.
underwear. There's a lot. This is
Curtis.
not like this is a
Kurt,
small
yeah, okay.
instance that happens once in
No,
a while.
so Curtis, give me one example of a case where that happened. Like, give me the details, because it sounds like you're claiming that there are a bunch of these examples that have happened. So I'd like you to give me an example.
Okay. How about I'll give you one right now. Hold on. I'll actually pull it up and because it was widely reported. Okay. Here's one. This is in Britain, and this is with Ann Combs. She was 65, and she was walking through the different change rooms, where there were not only women that were unchanging, but there also were little girls that were unchanging as well. And there was a complaint about that, and that had happened at the I guess the place is called British Swimming. I have another one that I'll give you that's more so local, more so U.S.
What's the source of that story?
Go ahead.
Where did you find that story from?
Well, this one I'll give you is from Daily Mail, but it's not necessary just to go through the Daily Mail, because I actually like to use more broadly.
Yeah, because the Daily Mail has a lot of
examples
bias in their articles and intentionally inflammatory headlines. So,
yeah, go ahead. The only reason I say that is
it's important. I want to know like the sources you're getting things from, and I want to.
Sorry, go ahead.
I want to know that these. Well, I want to know that these stories are verified, that they happened the way that you're saying they did. So, like, especially if you have, let's say, if you have a court case of something where, you know, this happened and people complain about it, or there's litigation happening where people, like, we could actually, like, more easily verify the things that happened. Because I quite frankly,
yeah,
I don't really buy that this type of thing is happening as frequently as you're saying it's happening.
Also, in this particular case, what are you alleging that the trans woman did?
Well, if she went inside of, this trans woman went inside of a change room where there is young girls that are undressing and they are a biological male, that would be a violation of privacy. I think that's also not only very inappropriate, but I honestly, it's
wait. Do you think that it's a violation of privacy? Do you think it's a violation of privacy for other adult women to walk through a changing room where other people are changing?
If they share the same anatomy, no, it isn't.
Why? Like, is there something about your genitals that? Is there something about your specific genitals that make it creepy for you to like take your child into a changing room so they can go swimming?
Well, that's the whole thing. You know, when we're children, whether they're little girls, when they're raised up, they're actually raised up around other females of the same anatomy, and they're actually they are exposed to.
So that's
like, for
so
instance,
Curtis. So that is a cultural norm. That is Curtis. That is a Western cultural norm. That's a Western cultural norm. There are people. There are actually a lot. There are a lot of cultures that don't raise children up like that, and actually, there are a lot of cultures that don't even wear full clothing, as we would define it in, like, more of the West. So a lot of that actually is related to how you raise your children, and not about whether or not children should or should not be around people of differing anatomy. You're not making a case for why they shouldn't be exposed to other types of anatomy. at
I
all.
I
Okay,
also just
I'm
want
sorry.
to
You're
note that
so
you've
just so I'm clear,
changed the argument. Curtis, you've
yeah.
changed
Go
your
ahead.
argument
Absolutely.
because you started from a place of, well, women need to get used to seeing women with penises. Women with vaginas need to get used to seeing women with penises. And you started with this idea that, well, the trans
Correct.
women are going into locker rooms and showing their penises off to
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
And the case that
Okay.
you're talking about, a trans woman walked through a locker room and then later returned to use the bathroom. This is not a case. I'm looking at the Daily Mail article. This is not a case where this trans woman
Okay.
was stripped naked in front of everybody else. See, now
No,
you're
it's not.
talking about
It's
a
absolutely
different
not.
situation. You're talking about a
No, it's
different
absolutely
situation,
not.
and now you're just like, well, if somebody with eyes is in a changing room and other people are getting changed, if their genitals make them creepy by default somehow. Like,
Okay.
do you think you're a threat to
That's.
children?
I'm sorry.
Do you think you are a threat to children because of your genitals, Curtis?
Do I think I'm a threat to children because of my genitals? I
Yeah,
think
because that's
that
what you are
children
alleging
should be.
here.
I think children, particularly girls, I think they shouldn't
You're
be
a
in.
threat to them?
Especially we're talking about. I'm sorry.
You're a threat to them because of your genitals.
Genitals is a big issue. Absolutely.
So
A biological
you're
male
fully
should-
owning the position that you
I
are
don't
a
think
threat to children, Curtis.
I-
That's you. That's
okay.
on you, man.
Yes. No, it's not,
Like,
actually,
well,
that's not
you're
on me,
calling in
because
and
I
telling
don't
us
think
that
there's
you are
any
an
can-
inherent threat to children, Curtis.
let me know when I can speak, because if you're going to cut me off
Okay,
every time I'm
I
trying to
just
speak,
want to be
then how am I
very
supposed to
clear.
explain
I'm
something?
letting you know when you can speak. I
Yeah.
will let you know when you can speak. You are telling us right
Okay, go ahead,
now
let me know.
that because of your genitals, you are an inherent threat to children. And you're saying, well, you know, that's actually true. Do you understand how creepy that makes you seem? How, like, honestly kind of bigoted towards other men that makes you? Right? Like, you're sitting here saying men are inherent threats to children because, and I'm going to kind of read between the lines here, you think that
Go
men
ahead.
are inherently attracted to children. You can respond by all means, but that's what you're telling us
Let me
right
know
now.
when I don't want to cut you off. I want you. It's your platform. I want to respect when you're speaking. So you let me know when I got the platform to speak and explain myself.
Go for
Am
it.
I good to speak? Okay. So what I was very clear about is that I said private spaces. When we're talking about change rooms, we're talking about some places where they have showers, locker rooms, etc. That was just I just gave that one instance because again I was just quickly looking through it. I have another one I could have actually showed you about the penis, but let's stick to what you said about what's very clear is that when you go to any different country, you'll find that males, biological males, men, are responsible for anywhere between 90 to 96% of all sexual assault and sex crimes.
So you are admitting,
Because of that,
that this is a problem with cis
Yeah,
men.
go ahead.
Cis men are not trans women.
No,
So
it's not. Well, that's the whole thing. I'm not someone that actually believes the concept of
Curtis,
cis men. Go ahead.
Well, also,
go ahead.
Curtis, we were talking about private spaces. What about the private spaces of your own home? Should a dad and a daughter not be allowed to be at home in that space because it's a private space? Or does this only apply to locker rooms? Like,
Private
what are we
space.
defining as a
I
private
wouldn't-
space? What are we allowing? Who are we allowing to be in spaces together? It sounds like Jack was absolutely correct
Well, we're
in
talking
that
about
you
society. We're
are
talking about society
suggesting
here.
that cis men are a problem around children, and that's not saying
I'm
anything
not gonna
about
say
trans
cis men.
women. That's an admission. That's an admission of you and your demographic.
No, it's
So
actually.
don't blame this other demographic
Okay.
for
Well,
something that
I guess
yours is
I guess
doing.
the difference is I don't separate because a man wears a different let's just say a gender expression. If someone decides to wear feminine clothes, if someone decides to wear male clothes, and someone makes a declaration and says I'm this, and someone says I'm a declaration
So
I'm that,
Curtis,
I actually just go off of this fact.
Curtis, So do you think that
Yes, go ahead.
behavior is based on what's in your pants?
Well, sex crimes are not always associated
So
with
do you
what's inside of
think
your
that
pants.
do you think Curtis, do you think that it is a biological feature? Do you think that those crimes are biologically inherent to people with penises? Do you think that having a penis makes you want to commit those crimes? Or is that a factor that is completely different? Or is that a behavioral thing?
I think you're doing correlation doesn't always amount to
Nope,
causation.
nope, that's not at all. No, Curtis, you are the one.
So by
No,
saying
Curtis,
that,
I'm going to
but
mute you.
let me finish.
I'm muting you because I'm going to speak. I'm muting you because you are the one connecting anatomy and sex crime. We are not doing that. Sex crimes are behaviors that are unacceptable, but they are in no way inherent to people because of their anatomy. Anatomy does not commit sex crimes. People commit sex crimes. Okay?
I would just
You are
like to
unmuted.
note, I would just like to note, Curtis, that your argument that you are using right now, that like men are threats to children because they have penises, generally speaking.
That's the statement that you keep on repeating. I actually never said that statement, but you keep on repeating that statement.
Okay. So I want to be clear, right? Because you think trans women are men, right?
They're biological males, yes.
Yeah, and so you think that like a biological male
Not
going
I
through
think they I don't think they are, but go ahead.
no, but you think that a biological male going through like a changing room is a threat to children?
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
It's a threat to women and children, both actually.
Do you think that a biological male going through the men's changing room is a threat to children?
Okay. I don't know. Like I mentioned to you already, every single country, no matter what, you can name any country in the world, and if you
It's a simple question, Curtis. Do you think a biological man going through a men's changing room is a threat to children?
Is a biological male going through a male what? You saying a male changing room?
A men's changing room? Because there are children in that changing room too. Are biological males a threat to children in the men's changing room, Curtis?
The situation is that I have a very issue with is, are all men?
I want a yes or
all men
no,
are not.
man.
All men are.
I just want a yes or no. It's a pretty simple question.
That's a broad question. You're saying is every single man
You
a
have a
threat?
very definitive answer for it when it's a women's changing room. What about a men's changing room?
Of course, of course. Because women are 96%, 99% of the people that are victims of sex crimes. It's not men.
So Curtis, here's an interesting thing that you're doing with your argument.
So women are the more more vulnerable people in society that are subjected
there's a very
to men,
interesting
and they
thing
get
that you're doing with
overpowered
your
by
argument
men.
here. Here's something that you're doing with your argument that I don't know if you know you're doing. Right? So you're citing for the rate of sex crimes committed by men and having the victim of women, you're citing a statistic of 90-something%, which I mean I could go on the argument and ask where you got those numbers, but I don't really care. That's not super important. But you're going with statistics for men like sexually abusing women, but then you are just assuming that trans women have those same statistics. Do you have statistics on sex crime rates where trans women are the perpetrator?
Do I have it?
Yeah, do you have those statistics? Because you're making the comparison. You are including them in the statistics of that 90-something% that you said for men. So can you demonstrate that they should be in that same category of those statistics?
Sure. And I'll read one out to you. Hold on a second here. Okay.
See,
all right.
So you didn't have those statistics
Canada,
ahead of time.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So Curtis, you made
Yeah,
your
go ahead.
assumption in your head. You made the idea of these are the statistics I wanted to be true when I asked, because you didn't have those stats when I asked you the question. So you go to Google and now you're sifting
No,
through Google for
I
the
don't have it
answer
on my
that you
phone.
want
I
with your
actually have it on my phone, but
statistics.
I don't want to misquote it, right? I don't want to misquote it. It says 82% of gender diverse offenders with sexual offense histories were trans women, and the remaining 17% were in the other group. So in Canada, the trans women
Okay, but that's
prisoners,
Curtis.
82%
That also
of them
that's
have
not
sex
saying
crimes.
what you think it is. Even if that statistic is true, that is not saying what you say it is, because you're already starting from a default position that they were gender diverse and that they were sexual perpetrators. So right, so if you take that, you have to find a statistic from the entire population and how many of those people are perpetrators who are trans people and specifically trans women. But also, if you look at in general the entire population of sexual perpetrators, how many of those are
Yeah.
trans women? Not how many, what percentage of those that are already gender diverse, right? Because you can see where the inflation is in that number when your sample is only including gender diverse individuals.
Gender diverse
Also,
individual. Okay.
I also just
I
want
think
to
the
point
problem
out to
is,
you,
I think the problem is that
Curtis,
I didn't want to go.
Curtis,
I can't speak.
I
But
need,
go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
you can't speak right now because I'm trying to
I'm
also
muting
tell you
you.
something that's very important, right?
Okay, he's muted.
Which is that you are very protective of young girls, and I think that's good. I think young girls should be protected. But at the same time, when I ask you a question that's very straightforward, and because you are saying biological males going through the women's changing room, that's an inherent threat to the children in that changing room. But when I ask you, is a biological male going through the men's changing room a threat to the children in that? You go, well, no, there are different societies, blah, 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 blah. And I just want you to know, right? This is data coming from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation. This is from 2025. Their researchers found that around 72% of males reported first being sexually abused during their childhood, of like sexual assault survivors. And so the total number of young boys who are sexually assaulted is 1 in 6. Generally speaking, and that might be an undercount because men tend to underreport their sexual assaults. And you're saying to me, like, well, obviously a biological male is a threat to young girls, but not a threat to young boys. Like, I'd have to sit down and think about that. But like, you don't seem to think that men can abuse men. You don't seem to think that like that happens, or at the very least it happens in any way that you need to legislate around, when the statistics you're citing are about the threats posed by cis men, the threats posed by people like you. And so the frustrating thing here is that you are then trying to say, well, these stats that show that I am a threat to children, generally speaking, statistically speaking, well, they actually show that trans women are a threat to children, when trans women are far more likely to be the victims of sexual assault from people like you, Curtis. So when you are citing these statistics and you're saying, well, we need legislation to keep these spaces private, you have different sets of standards that you are applying that you would never apply to cis men. And it's because you just reject the idea that there could be like people different than you. And it's weird. And everyone can see that it's weird, Curtis. So you can respond to this, but like, I have a very low tolerance for people who downplay like the sexual assault and danger to children. And right now, what you are doing is using that to try and justify your bigotry towards a group of people that isn't even responsible for the statistics you are citing. It's sick.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like to go back to my point and to further expand on it. The fact that you were citing a study that only included convicted sex offenders, which, like, sure, that 80% number sounds like a lot, but if we had an actual statistic, like let's just hypothetically say that the amount of gender diverse sex offenders was, I don't know, 2%, just assign a number of 2%. You'd have to take that 80% would be of the 2% of the full population of convicted sex offenders. And that actual number, the actual percentage is really, really small. So it's important to understand statistics and to know that 80% of a very, very small percentage is a very small percentage and not 80% of the whole population. So I'm going to unmute you and you can try to respond to what we just said.
Yeah.
All right.
So the thing for me, and where my stance is that because I really didn't want to get into about percentages and try to, put the narrative like, oh, you're blanketing that every single person or every single trans woman or is that. Can I want to get my point in. So the point for me, and I was very clear about it, is that it's not about, as you would call cis, which I totally reject that concept of cis, but because I was never grown up as a cis male.
Are you trans?
Or a cis man. No, I'm just a man. There was.
But you reject the idea of cis people existing.
College, university. I was
so
never. I was never called a cis, and men were never referred to as cis when I went to school. Never.
Yeah, because language changes.
So, anyways, that's a whole.
You're outdated.
That's a whole other conversation, which I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. To be perfectly honest, what's very clear is that you don't need to have 10,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 women sexually assaulted by a trans woman, and then you're going to say, well, there's still, as you would say, other men, they still do millions of sexual assault. No, the issue is, it's not about how many, because obviously the population is much more bigger amongst men compared to trans women. The point is, trans women have the exact same potential as any man to commit sex crimes.
You know what I care more about than
they have the
okay, I'm muting you, and actually I'm gonna drop you because this is ending up being a waste of time. But Curtis, you know what actually means more than all because your argument is based on vibes and your own assumptions, your own feeling of ickiness about trans women. But all of the numbers you pulled out of your ass. So you know what I do value? I value stats that are real, and I don't really like statistics that you made up or this very, very high number that you made up and that you can't demonstrate is actually a problem with trans people. And so maybe instead of making your points, making up big numbers to prove your point, understand that those numbers actually have to come from somewhere and actually have to mean something in order for us to do anything about it. So maybe next time, show up with some data instead of just arguing that trans people are icky.
It's also worth noting, oops, sorry, I have the wrong audio on. I don't want to get confused here. It's also worth noting that the study that he cited, not only were the only participants already sex offenders, so it's a completely diluted pool. It tells you nothing about the rate at which trans people are actual sex offenders. But the study that he cited even said itself that 94% of the committed offenses were done while those people were living as their biological sex. So even by his own argument, trans women who have transitioned and are out and about in society are not the ones to fear. It's the people who are pre-transition, who currently look like fucking men, who live their lives as men, who are the one to fear. So even by his own study that he cited, trans women, like, it's just dumb all the way down. He makes me want to say words that'll get me in trouble.
Well, that was that call.
That was bizarre. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how someone is trying to make this argument and just not really engaging with the fact that they're calling in and saying with their entire chest that they should be regarded as a threat to children. Like it's really weird to me. And like he's like, well, I never said those words, and it's just like, well, yeah, but that's your argument. Your argument is that the presence of like a biological male in the women's changing room is an inherent threat to children.
Yeah.
And it's just
Wild.
absolutely wild. And not to mention the fact that like we're talking about private spaces. Like your private space is your home. You know, like
Right.
a changing room where you can walk through it and see other people changing their clothes is not a private space. Like that's a public space. Actually, it is. If someone could just walk through it, it's not actually private.
Right, and the fact that if we're talking sexual assault statistics, people like especially young people are more likely to be abused in their own home than in one of those changing rooms. So
I mean, according to Curtis, like single dads shouldn't be allowed to exist because
yeah,
they are a threat to their own kids.
yeah,
I mean, especially if you start getting into statistics, which I understand why he wouldn't want to do that, considering they make him look terrible. And
hmm
also, he wouldn't want to get into a semantic argument. I have an English degree. Like,
yeah,
it's not a good idea, Curtis, to make your arguments when you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
yeah. All right. Well, we got a few different calls on in the queue. Any of that stick out to you? I know we've got one about the poll question, and then a bunch of other ones. Anything
Um,
kind of interesting?
honestly, all of them seem pretty great. Take your pick.
Okay. We can just go down the line if we want. So let's talk with John, he him from is that Michigan? Uh
Woo.
John, I'm so
Hello.
bad at my states sometimes. John, you are live on the line with Ben and Jack. What would you like to talk about?
Oh, hey, Jack. Hey, Ben. Hold on.
Howdy.
Am I on speaker? Hey, Jack. Hey. Let me get off here. All right. Hey. Yeah. So I was watching a video not too long ago, and it was a person reacting to right wing nonsense, and they were reacting to, or at least this right winger was reacting to a trans woman talking about periods, and it's been a long time since I've heard like this topic brought up regarding trans issues or whatnot. And I was like, I'm in Jack's stream a lot, so I was like, oh, you're coming up here. I might as well just ask Jack and Dr. Ben about this. So, oh.
Yeah. Dr. Ben, do you want to take this first up?
Yeah, so with I'm trying to gather my thoughts real quick. Jack, do you want to go first while I
Yeah, I mean, my general thought process is that, trans people who are on HRT, can experience the same kind of hormone fluctuations through their body, which can lead to, not of course like bleeding or anything to do with like a uterus, but it can like in some trans women manifest as like different period like symptoms, like think
Yeah.
all of the other things that aren't related to like the uterus, for example, mood swings, maybe breasts become tender, uh, etc. Like there are a lot of different ways I think that like hormones can cycle through the body. um and not every trans woman reports experiencing this, but some trans women do. And, your mileage may vary when it comes to that experience. And it's pretty interesting. I don't think there's a ton of studies on it, as far as I know, and I could be wrong about that. But I have known a number of trans women who report, having period like symptoms or experiences, and it makes sense to me. it doesn't seem like out of the realm of possibility, especially when you're talking about taking hormones, which have profound effects on the human body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with a lot of that. I was looking to see if there was any updates in the research, like if anything had come out recently, or if there's certain guidelines on addressing this since I last looked. And it looks like right now there is still like zero published research on this particular topic, but actually might be an interesting thing to look into. But yeah, it is a lot to do with the hormone function in the body, and so a few different things can happen. Like Jack was saying, a lot of uh, like PMS symptoms can happen for trans women. But one of the big drivers as well that I think is, at least is a hypothesis. So don't quote me like in a few years when this, these studies come out,
Yeah.
like if they completely disprove this. But there's a hypothesis that some of the pain and discomfort may be related to prostaglandin function, which prostaglandins are inflammatory mediators involved in a lot of different tissue healing and pain processes. And so a lot of times when you get kind of crampy, like more visceral pain, that's from prostaglandin activity. And actually, that's the specific compound that a lot of anti-inflammatories combat. So like ibuprofen combats that, aspirin combats that. Strangely enough, Tylenol technically has a different mechanism, we think, but we don't really know for sure. But you can get that prostaglandin activity to act like intestinally, that can give you probably a lot of those kind of like GI side effects. Like in addition to uterine pain, uh, people who have a uterus can get, GI discomfort, some kind of bowel dysfunction during that time, and you can get a lot of that probably for the same reasons as a trans person. So it is something that is there's more to be studied about it, but at least there are a few different mediators that I could see being a part of this mechanism for making it feel the same.
Yeah, and it is worth noting there are a lot of aspects of trans healthcare in particular that have not been researched. In particular, I'm thinking of like the augmentation of HRT with progesterone. Like it's commonly thought that like within the trans community that like progesterone might lead to more breast growth or different changes within like the hormone makeup of your body as well. And like I remember getting on that and my doctor basically being like, there's not a lot of research done on this, but a lot of my patients swear by it. And you know that's like HRT itself pretty well researched, but some of the other stuff when it comes to how HRT works in the body and like what that might entail for like trans women or how it can be augmented with like other hormones like progesterone, like that hasn't been researched as much, so there's not like a ton of scientific data on that particular field, but it's all very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like, and I kind of got this idea of calling him mainly because like when she was reacting to this guy, obviously the guy is like trying to make the case that all this stuff is like is leaving the social space or whatnot, or implying that or whatnot. And kind of never talking about the studies or anything like that, or lack thereof. It's always about like the social capital or whatnot. But
Mm.
regardless, the thing that made me like a little bit surprised is that the person reacting was like, yeah, trans women don't like this. This might be a slight shock, but I don't think trans women get periods. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, it's been a while since I've seen this topic at all, and like that's the first thing that I hear. I'm like, you know what? I'll put this in the back burner and I'll go watch something else. I'll come back to it. But yeah, this is just an opportunity like me to like figure out. It's kind of nuts they don't have any like studies on this, or very little.
Yeah, I
especially
mean,
like
yeah.
especially when it's talked about constantly on the right. Like it's still a thing. Like for me, leaving that space, I don't hear it very much at all. Like it's kind of like an irrelevant talking point, but it's constantly harped on. If I'm getting like harped on the right, it's just like it for like shock value, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
it's an easy way for them to try and otherize trans people and like try and gatekeep different experiences as like fundamentally, a biological man experience could never have the same experience as like a biological woman. Like they want to do this gatekeeping stuff, and part of it is that they benefit from living in the ignorance. They kind of wallow in it and take pleasure in not knowing about these things so that they can simplify it down to, a thought terminating stance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of cis women don't have periods either.
Exactly.
So it's variable for a lot of people.
Yeah, my wife has her own issues with periods and whatnot. Like it's like she is slightly out of the norm as well. Like everybody's different.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's a thing where even a lot of cis women are like there's some stigma surrounding cis women and periods. Like there's this idea that you shouldn't be taking birth control because it'll suppress your period and it's natural to bleed. Like you don't want to suppress or like, no, there's actually no reason for you to have to bleed unless like you want to get pregnant. Like there's no reason to need to go through that. And it doesn't make you any more or less of a woman, whether you do or do not menstruate. And it's fine either way. So
yeah, like this is kind of like goes into like another topic. I don't, it might be too broad, but like the way in which like these talking points it's essentially like it's misogynistic in general, but like trying to streamline put all the eggs in one basket for the opposite sex, and expect them to have all these things prepackaged and not have like any freedom to make those choices. We obviously just don't do that for men. Like men somehow just naturally have an open-ended, pathway that they can just choose, their career and whatnot. Well, I mean, to an extent, there are some obviously some limitations that men put on other men, but like not to the same degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, any other questions for us about this topic?
Yeah. No, it was just something that like, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it was just something like, I might as well just call in and see what you guys have to say. I'm actually shocked that there's just less research on this. So
yeah. A lot more money in research to try and invalidate trans people these days.
Yeah, just make shit up on the fly. Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling in and asking us this question, and maybe somebody will be inspired to do a research project on this. We'll see.
Hopefully, yeah. And in Trump's America, I don't know, but hopefully soon.
Yeah. Well, have a good rest of your day, John. Thank you for your call.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. Shimp strong, everybody. See ya.
Yes.
Bye.
And I just want to touch on one comment from the side chat about trans masks on T who've had no bleeding but ghost cramps. Interestingly enough, so I still have that experience, but some of those cramps might not be from your actual uterus and maybe from ovulation. So, because that still does happen when you're on T. And that's, again, so even if you're on T does not mean that you are infertile, and you should be on contraception if you are not trying to get pregnant and if you are doing activities that could end in that. Because ovulation does happen. But enough of that tangent. my little public health tangent. All right. You want to just keep going down the line?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's talk with Lua. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Lua, she, her from Brazil. You are on the line with Dr. Ben and Riverboat Jack. What would you like to talk about today?
Hello.
Hello.
Uh, I wanted to talk about the like. Okay, I have to think how I want to say this. Uh, like as a trans person, I feel kind of almost scared, like anxiety of going outside and being perceived as the opposite gender. So that's kind of the topic that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like it was kind to get over that anxiety. It was just exposing myself in small doses for whatever my anxiety would like allow, whether it was just kind of going into like a gas station, buying something and leaving, sitting down for a meal someplace, taking a walk. I would go on nighttime walks like around various neighborhoods, depending on, of course, your safety. That may or may not be a good idea in your area. But honestly, it's just a process of kind of teaching yourself that it's going to be okay and building up that outward resilience of being able to perform and operate in the wider world, you know? And it is scary,
Mhm.
but really the only way to kind of overcome that is by being brave and doing it anyway.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Uh, I yeah, I feel like I just get a lot of anxiety of just going outside at all. So I guess that just doesn't help, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
I mm, I'm not sure what to say.
It's okay.
Do you need a minute to kind of think over your thoughts?
Yeah, maybe. I I was not sure of what to talk here. Just I wanted to
Hmm.
talk a little because I watched the show for quite a while. So
Yeah.
I wanted to try
Yeah.
and do a comment.
Well, we're happy to kind of help talk through a little bit of kind of our experience dealing with anxiety in public like that. And then if you want to call in again a different time as well, and when you kind of think of it, that's an option as well. I know for me, kind of in the beginning of my transition, it was kind of anxiety inducing to go out in public at certain points, especially. Um, I remember I was in med school when I first came out, and there was a big formal event that everybody was going to. I had decided not to go because I had only had women's clothes up to that point, and I didn't have a suit, and I didn't have the money to get a suit, and I felt embarrassed to go out if I couldn't dress the way that I wanted to, and so I decided to stay home. Um, but there are plenty of examples, uh, kind of like that people have, and eventually, since I've been able to get a suit, I've been feeling more confident to go out and do those public things. But uh, that was only just a small part of the experience. Other things, when I was first starting hormones, uh, I would dread the feeling of like I know someone's gonna call me ma'am. I know that someone's gonna use she, her because they're not gonna know, like worrying about am I gonna correct this person or am I just gonna let it slide and all that. I totally understand the fear that comes with kind of those feelings, and it's kind of hard to navigate sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately it's up to you to decide, is today a good day for me to kind of push those boundaries and see what I can do? Because sometimes those fears are accurate and sometimes they aren't. And sometimes you worry that you're not going to be perceived well in public, and then actually people surprise you. And so maybe it might be worth kind of dipping your toe in a little bit occasionally, thinking like, okay, today is going to be a day that I'm going to do my hair, do my makeup, like I'm going to dress in a certain way, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to do a thing um, in the way that I want to, and then see how it goes. And then if it's too much, then you can pat yourself on the back saying, I did a hard thing today, and then you don't have to do it again for a while. And you can kind of take it step by step and then see how it goes. Or even something that may help is if you have a friend that can do something with you, and then you don't have to feel like you're doing it alone. And it's like, hey, I remember early in transition, like I'd have a cis man go into the bathroom at the same time as me and make sure there wasn't anybody that's going to be weird about it. So kind of finding some strategies like that, I think, can help get your confidence. And then I think eventually you get to a point where it doesn't matter anymore. And you're like, what are these people going to do to me? Nothing. Like, I'm fabulous. I'm going to go be myself. And that's going to be up to you to decide how much of that you're wanting to deal with, and how much anxiety you're gonna kind of push through in that day, or maybe today I need a break. So
Yeah, it's
And
like a muscle. You work it out, you build it up, and you're able to do more and more. And sometimes a way to like having a friend is great. If you have a social group you can like go and meet with of like fellow trans people, like they also will have places where they know it's safe to go, and like where they think it's cool to hang out, and you can kind of utilize that network to expand where you feel safe.
that's yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Uh, Also, I do feel like there's quite a bit of the clothes that you talk about, like using clothes that I feel better with.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
dress in a way that gives you a sense of power and confidence.
that's fair. Yeah.
Also, people will think you're cool as hell for doing so. Like a lot of people just sit around wishing that they could wear cool clothes that express themselves fully. You just get to do it. Like that's part of the process. And going out there boldly as yourself, people are attracted to that. People like it.
That's very nice advice. Uh, okay, yeah. I I feel like yeah, I don't have much to say, but I kind of like how this went. I think this was really interesting.
Good.
yeah,
Glad you
thank
called
you for
in.
your call. Yeah,
Yeah,
and if you go back and you think that there's other things, other questions, or you want some more suggestions, feel free to call in again and we can discuss further. But you made a big step calling in today, so uh, give yourself some credit for that.
absolutely.
Thank you. Good luck on the next calls. Bye.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Have a
Bye.
great day. Bye. All right. Today's been a day of flashbacks to the past. And I do have to
Yeah.
say that, like, I often forget how difficult it was at the beginning, like, until I really think back on it, but it does get better.
Yeah.
Like, I know the world out there sucks, but looking back at the person who I was when I first started and how nervous I was, how low confidence I was, and then like today, I in my real life, I rarely actually think about my gender because it's just normal. Things just feel
Yeah.
normal. So I hope everybody here can get to a point where confidence isn't even a question anymore. It just you just have it. So
That
all
was really
right.
delightful. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk with Maureen, she, her from Canada. Maureen, you are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Riverboat Jack. Sounds like you want to talk about the poll
Hello.
today. What is your question or discussion
Howdy.
topic?
Well, I was, yeah, I was listening to a little bit of what you were saying about J.K. Rowling, and I agree that her influence, her money, and she can back people that harm people. That's something to take into account. I was just wondering how far do you go on this? Because they're just sitting here listening. I've been going through my head with the amount of different people who are, they have influence in that, who you could just say, no, don't support them. I mean, Disney was known as an anti-Semitic, and there are a lot of actors who pushing their agendas. My big thing right now is there are so many of the billionaire social media guys that are buying up media. And what are they doing? They're throwing all their money at Donald Trump, and he's like the worst.
Mm-hmm.
So they might be saying, yeah, I'm doing it to protect myself and my interests. But how far do you go? Because he is actively hurting people, and they're just sitting there supporting him. I mean, so is there a point where you can just say, yeah, this isn't a big deal, but these are, but how do you deal with that? They own your media. How do you communicate if these people are actively against you?
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, there's nothing ethical in capitalism. And at some point, you have to be forgiving with yourself and say, I can't champion every single ethical cause. I can't completely detach myself from civilization. However, especially with a lot of big businesses, with people whose CEOs are currently alive and are making these decisions, you can boycott. And there are a lot of companies I am actively boycotting, and it kind of sucks sometimes, but it's a thing where I've determined the lines that I need to hold, and I'm trying to do my best to vote with my dollar, and yeah, I'm not going to be able to get every single one of them, but when I hear about, oh, this organization is donating to particular causes, and I think something important here too is like when you're stratifying these things, like what things are doing kind of the worst influence, and kind of like start with removing those things, and then you can kind of gradually work your way into some of the things with less influence, and get as many as you can. uh like again, like you're not going to be perfect, and I don't think you should be like beating yourself up over not being perfect. But I think there is a good effort to be made in trying to reduce as many of those things as possible. Like I don't go on X anymore, for multiple reasons, but supporting Elon is one of those things. Like I will not buy a Tesla. I'll not buy anything that Elon promotes. There's several other places that I'm boycotting actively. Um, but I think like putting in some effort to find out what are the places that these companies are donating to, what are the biggest donors of Donald Trump. I think it is important to be aware of some of those things.
Yeah, I would just add in there and echo, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, but like people, especially in circumstances where like the harm is pretty direct, I think that there's a decent case to be made for boycotts. For example, like Chick-fil-A has long been donors to the Republican Party, so I don't eat at Chick-fil-A. Um, and Elon Musk is a Nazi. I left Twitter. Target I live in Minneapolis. Target has been allowing ICE to you know do their thing in their parking lots. So I don't shop at Target anymore. And with J.K. Rowling in particular, she as an individual gets like something like 80 to $100 million per year just in royalties from all the Harry Potter stuff. And so like and she just like last year announced like an organization that her wealth is personally backing to eliminate the ability of trans people to live in society publicly. And so like there are going to be different thresholds for different people for a wide variety of different reasons. And where that is, it's up to each person to decide. And I think that like it's a tough conversation to navigate with yourself sometimes, because of the fact that under capitalism, like do you buy a smartphone? The lithium came from like and cobalt in there came from horrible working conditions. Do you buy new shoes that you suspect might be so cheap because they were made with slave labor? Like what your threshold is varies quite a bit, and it depends on person to person. And I think having public pressure campaigns can work to like expand and convince people to have a line similar to your own, whether that's BDS boycotts, or any of these companies trafficking with ice. It really depends. And like I guess part of why we're talking about Harry Potter is just because we're trying to make the case that boycotting Harry Potter stuff is in a net good. And so like it's an ongoing conversation, and I don't know if that helps. I know we talked a lot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's because it's so frustrating with what's happening. Harry Potter, like, I don't even read her books. I do read a series of books she writes, so I can say,
Oh,
oh no,
we
dropped.
lost Maureen.
We lost her.
No. Oh, I was really invested in what she was gonna say.
Right.
Oh no.
Maybe
Maureen,
I don't.
Maureen,
The
please
lines
call
are
back.
closed. The lines are
Oh
closed,
no.
but I don't know if we can make an exception for our current caller.
Oh no. Oh, Maureen, I'm so sorry I talked so long and your call dropped.
Oh, and the other caller that we had on
Yeah,
dropped as
and
well.
the other one dropped.
Womp womp.
No.
Oh no.
Well, at this point, I don't know if I really want to reopen lines and start a brand new conversation, just because it's a little late in the show. I think it's going to push us up against the wire, but also I don't know that the
Call back next
current
time,
bash will
Maureen.
get us to 5 o'clock. So
Yeah.
what that means, chat, is send us extra super chats.
Yeah, send super chats.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to close out the call in studio. Give me a second for that. So sorry to Maureen and everyone else that was waiting. I don't know what happened there.
Maureen, call
back
next
week.
time.
Yeah.
Call next week.
You'll also get to hear the thoughts of other hosts too. So maybe that's a win for you. But so sorry. Maureen, if you are in the chat, please consider typing up your thoughts, because we'd love to hear what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is also like a bit of a difference when you're talking about like a corporation that is directly engaging in these activities versus like J.K. Rowling as like a private individual who's like going about and directly funding nonprofits to attack trans people and our rights to exist. It is frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, part of this too is especially if there's a reasonable alternative that is doing less harm, that's a way that you can kind of manage this. So like instead of shopping at Target, I mean ideally you could shop local, but like go somewhere that's not Target, or like go to Costco because they have some better business practices. Like kind of making those swaps might be a bit more helpful for people. Like instead of Chick-fil-A, like I mean, again, I'm almost always going to say support a local place. But if you can't support a local place, then pick something else that has chicken. That is, I honestly, Chick-fil-A's chicken like isn't even that good. Like it's not even good chicken.
No.
So like Popeyes, I'm biased. Popeyes I think is the best chicken. But but like there are lots of different alternatives. And I do want to say though too, J.K. Rowling is something that like Harry Potter's easy to avoid, right? Like it's something that you can choose other media. I think things that may be more difficult are if you're in a food desert and you need to feed yourself. Like you might be limited in your options, and so this is where like making reasonable, ethical, and moral decisions I think is important, but I also think it's if it is going to ultimately do you more harm to make those decisions, then you need to think about that. Like this is where I often get in the weeds with people about vegan conversations because like, do I think veganism is like a net good? Yes. Do I think it is like doable for like everybody? No. Do I think that it can cause some problems for especially people with eating disorders? Yes. So it's like there are pros and cons to these different things, and I think that I think there's some ethical nuance to a lot of these decisions, but something like Harry Potter being easy enough to avoid, I don't think that like Harry Potter's not essential to your survival or your joy or your like you don't need it.
Yeah. And I
So
mean,
yeah.
like there are just so many cool series to get into instead of Harry Potter. Like we talked about Redwall earlier. We talked about, Warrior Cats and Animorphs, but also just like you can even go a bit more classic with it, like with Ursula K. Le Guin and like the Earthsea books, or God, start them on The Color of Magic. There are so many cool things to get your kid into or to get yourself into beyond Harry Potter.
Yeah, or if
And
you're looking for a TV show, Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of the best shows like ever. And you can
heck yeah.
easily get
Facts.
super invested in that in the same way that a lot of kids do with Harry Potter. So,
Mm-hmm.
like
Absolutely.
substitutes.
Yeah, get into anime instead.
Get it. All right, so we're gonna get into the super chat. So again, get in your super chats of $5 or more to have us read them, and remember you have to have a hashtag in order for your vote to count. But currently, the topics available are either cowboy aesthetic is masked drag, looks maxing is dysphoria cope, or public MAGA humiliation to heal us. So make sure to vote in the side chat as well because the winning one of the poll will have to be defended by the loser of the votes. So I guess we'll get into it. So and the more you send, the less we vamp. So there you go. $5 from Legally Mod. Ben, congratulations on the new job. Hashtag Team Jack. Oh yeah, and Jack, I think you are aware of the trend where the chat likes to compliment one host and then vote for the other one. That's
Oh
what's
yeah.
happening here.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you for the £5 from Sean Loves Maths. A positive integer M is powerful if whenever a prime P divides M, we have that P squared provides M. This is equivalent to M equals A squared B to the third power for positive integers A and B. I'm so bad at
Thank you,
math,
Sean.
guys.
Thank you, Sean. $5 from Marceline Darling. Thanks to the line and referring me to Plume. I have officially been on HRT for 6 months, the best 6 months of my life. Hashtag Team Riverboat Jack. Yes, Plume and Folks are both really good if people need an HRT option.
Thank you for the £5. Sean Loves Maths. We don't know whether their consecutive integers can be powerful. I'm so sorry, Sean, but thank you. The reason I got an English degree, folks.
$5 from BB Bunny 1982. I love hearing Riverboat Jack defend. I'm going to miss all the mad advice, Dr. Ben. Love y'all and good luck. My fave show to listen to live. Hashtag Dr. Ben. Thank you.
Thank you for the $5 from Baby Bunny in 1982. I get dis when gay men hit on me. I'm pan. Would a trans man get dysphoria with me if I hit on them, but I don't hit on assigned male at birth?
Yeah. Depends on the individual, but yeah, probably. If you say that you're attracted to men and you end up excluding trans men, I'm pretty sure they would probably get some dysphoria about that.
Thank you for the $5. Wait, did I read the last one?
I think
forget.
so. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
it's my turn. $5 from BB Bunny 1982. Coding my word so YouTube will send it. Send it sucks. Sorry for any confusion. You're good. And there's no vote there. And I do want to address something in the side chat. I'll be doing TACIS less frequently because I'm going back to residency, but I got a combined residency and fellowship spot, which is great.
Ooh.
But that means over the next 4 years, I will be working 80 to 120 hours a week. And since this show is at like in work hours, it's a little bit difficult to schedule around that. But I will be coming back occasionally, like when I have the schedule availability. It's just gonna be difficult. It's just gonna be less. So but I'll still be around. I might be in side chat more.
There's another trans man doctor who's on Instagram, and I'm like, I kind of want to hire him because he also looks just a little bit like you. Like I think he's like kind of dirty blonde with blue eyes, and I'm like, I want to hire him and just call him Dr. Ben anyway. Don't worry, guys.
The substitute Dr. Ben.
Thank you for the £5 from Mystic Mind Analysis. As a certified train nerd, it annoys me that the preservation of a particular steam locomotive is directly tied to the HP franchise. Free Olton Hall. I'm not aware of this. What is there's like a legacy steam engine associated with Harry Potter?
Probably the one that they ride
idea.
to get to the Hogwarts Express one, maybe. Just assuming.
I guess I just assumed that was they CG'd that. I didn't assume it was a
That's
real
fair.
train.
It probably was for a lot of it.
$5 from Hell's Bell with no comment listed. Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the €5 from Mikola Brigida. 1341. Is the pool about the 2023 Hogwarts Legacy / Hassan controversy again? Team Jack. No, I think it's about the I mean, similar argument and sentiment, I think, at play, but not related to Hassan, more related to the new HBO series that's coming out. The trailer just dropped like today, I think, yesterday. I don't know.
$5 from Hell's Bell. I'm coming up on my 1-year transiversary. Congratulations. How long do I need to be on T before I gain the ability to open jars? Hashtag Team Ben. I'm still working on that, so I'll let you know. Let you know when I can open jars.
Just
the
need to
robots
spec
will start
into
doing
it.
that for us. Yeah, you got to spec into it. I went down the other skill tree and not the jar opening skill tree. So
thank you for the $5 from C Gray 08. Dr. Ben and Jack are a scary dynamic duo. Transphobes beware. Hashtag Team Jack. Hell yeah.
€5 from Michelle Brigida. Poll still hashtag Team Jack.
Oh, poll. That makes more sense.
Also, Mystic Minds, who is Pip, I think, updated in chat that yeah, it is the Hogwarts Express. It's a real locomotive.
Oh, cool. I love it when filmmakers use real things.
Look at Pip fulfilling an archetype of a trans autistic person who's really into trains. Love you, Pip.
Oh. Is it me?
It's
I think
you.
it's me.
I keep
Thank you
getting
for
the short ones.
Thank you for the $10 Australian from Cliff V2H. Great show as usual with two great hosts. Team Justice for Dr. Softhole. Look, you guys are never seeing Dr. Softhole again. She was just a vehicle to describe why AI is dangerous and how we tend to overhumanize anything, including scrunchies that one might use on their hair. And she got flicked off the screen, died a horrible death. You'll never see her again.
£5 from Barbara Barrett. Why do women have boobs when men seem to need them so much more? And why do men talk to boobs? Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Good question.
Why do men talk to boobs?
Because they're fun, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I guess, but they're not great conversationalists. Thank you for the $5 from Legally Mod. Yesterday was my third HRT-versary, and I celebrated by going to an introductory meeting for a kink group. I'm shocked by how feminine my body has become. Well, congratulations on your third HRT-versary. Happy birthday. That's what
yes.
I say.
That's great. $10 from Brutus Magnuson. I don't have anything clever to say. I'm just here to hype Jack since she's pretty awesome with practical activism stuff and want more people like her growing big on YouTube.
Thank you.
But yet you didn't vote for her, so
yeah, where the votes? The votes aren't backing up the donos. Thank you, Brutus. Thank you for the $5 from Fiona the Foxy. Why is he calling from Canada when he's just talking like he's from Texas? I don't know who that's referring to.
Oh yeah, Curtis. So there were some good points. Like Curtis was saying that he is from Canada, which he might be an expat, but if he is an expat, like why is he voting in the US? Because he said that he voted for like US elections and said he is from Canada.
I screened him. He said he was currently in Canada because that's where his like girlfriend or wife or whatever was, but that he's from New York. But he listed himself as Canada, and he was like, I don't know which one to pick, and I was like, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So
okay.
we just went with Canada because that's where he's living currently, I guess. But
okay, gotcha.
It doesn't sound like he's like a citizen of Canada. So I think he's like maybe just like got a visa or something.
Yeah. Okay. $5 from Glam Pixie. All the red flags, but also I think Curtis is a cop. Yeah.
I'm going to keep some of my thoughts inside. Thank you for the $5 from Annalise Azura. I left the stream earlier while you two were on the phone with Train. I realized I can't bear putting off setting up an appointment any longer. You're taking such a big step. So proud of you. Thank you for the $5.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
£5 from Sean Loves Mats. Simpsons paradox is a phenomenon in which a trend appears in several groups of data but disappears or reverses when the groups are combined. Interesting.
Huh. I definitely read that as Simpsons, and I was waiting for a reference to the television show, and I don't think that is the Simpson being referenced in the title of the paradox.
Yeah.
Thank you for the $5 from C Gray 08. W for Dr. Ben dropping Curtis and calling him out for his made-up BS statistics, plus Arden calling him out on misrepresenting the study. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Hell yeah. It was pretty badass.
Gave some pity votes.
There was a great chatter who, when we were talking about the problem with the study, was like, wow, transphobe site study that actually says the opposite of what they're saying. It must be a day that ends in Y.
Right? Yeah. I think I should have 3 votes though now.
I think so too.
Yes.
My bad.
I was like, I'm tracking my few votes.
See, this is what I need y'all for. Sorry, my co-pilot is getting antsy, and so I was mildly distracted.
That adorable little
$5 from
sausage.
BB Bunny. First year and a half, didn't have a cycle. Doc put me on progesterone and OMG, hormonal all over the place, mood swings, bloating, headaches, and fatigue. Yeah, it sounds like progesterone's a miracle drug.
Yep, it can absolutely lead to a lot of mood swings. I know the process of me getting acclimated to HRT and then progesterone. I did not do both at the same time, but a lot of ups and downs with that emotionally from the just the hormone swings.
Mm.
Thank you for the $5 from Snard Fluck. Medical form asked for you know what assigned at birth, Texas. If this posts, will know the cursed word.
Mm.
I'm not.
I get your
What?
drift. I get your drift.
Okay. I don't.
They're saying
I think
sex,
it's a medical
sex assigned at birth.
sex assigned at birth.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
super chats are restricting
Oh, okay.
naughty words. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Such a naughty word.
What a bad word.
$5 from Beaker Squeakers. So glad Train called in. I heard them on Jovan's stream last week. Yes, it's scary, but the euphoria is totally worth it. All aboard. Hashtag rock, paper, scissors. I thought we weren't doing this anymore, but I guess we are. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors.
Shoot.
Oh, you won. Okay. Jack gets it.
Thank you for the $10 from John Doe McTwist. If you absolutely need your Harry Potter fix, pirate the stuff. It's a few Google searches away and ethically correct. Or alternatively, go support your local used bookstores. Used bookstores are fun. They're great. You can make a date of it. And if you don't have someone to take as a date, you might be able to find someone with a shared interest there that you could ask out on a date.
Yeah. $5 from Fiona the Foxy. Target is evil and needs to be banned from Minnesota. I'd rather use Lund's for food and more specialty stores like TJ Maxx. Yeah, I've also I've been boycotting Target ever since the DEI stuff got removed from them.
I like it was just we were also avoiding Target prior to that, but like, oh my God, I cannot imagine burning your goodwill down harder in Minnesota than like driving around the neighborhood and seeing like ICE agents like picking people up at Target. It's crazy. Thank you for the $5 from Jod Below All. Instead of reading Harry Potter every year, I now reread JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Team RBJ. It's too true. JoJo's is great.
$5 from Joshua Everett. Man solidarity. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. I just love the way that sounds. It just sounds very clunky. It's funny. Like, I don't know. Thank you for the vote.
Thank you for the $5 from Beaker Squeakers. You know I gotta vote for hashtag Team Dr. Ben one last time. I don't envy those work hours. Good luck. We'll miss you.
I'm not leaving until like mid-June. So I mean I'll be moving before then, but I don't start until June 15th. So I'll be here a little bit more. Yeah, the work hours.
No,
suck.
no, you won't. You got to send more of those last day super chats, or you'll never see him again. Oh no!
You have to send one every show, even when I'm not on.
I think this one's you.
Oh, it's me. Okay, $5 from BB Bunny. I was saying I'm into non-cis men, not cis men. Will non-cis men get dysphoria if I like them? I hate YouTube.
I mean, I guess it would depend on like what they're into. Like I get your mileage may vary, I guess.
I'm not sure. Just depends on the person.
Thank you for the $5 from Detroit Atheist Queen 247. Okay, getting my super chat out. Callers like Curtis are so dishonest, makes me so pissed. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. It's the unwillingness to like engage with any kind of actual argument. It's just like they are locked into position, and no matter what you actually present them with or what you point out about their argument, they just stick with it. It's very frustrating. Or they get like wibbly wobbly and don't actually bother to hold down a solid position.
$5 from Detroit Atheist Queen. FYI, Team Chili's. Hashtag Team Ben. Yeah, and that's some lore from my channel. So like there's a time when I decided instead of the Harry Potter houses, it should just be different like chain restaurants. Like so now we have Team Chili's, Team Applebee's, Team Cheesecake Factory, and Team TGI Fridays. RAP TGI Fridays. But yeah, so we got a Team Chili's. Side chat.
Thank you for the $5 New Zealand dollars from Christina Hankey NZ. If they ever want my birth cert, it says female, no ref to sex assigned at birth. Hashtag Dr. Ben. Hell yeah.
Thank you for the vote. We have tied the vote. I didn't think it was gonna happen. $5 from Duty and Courage. We need more TACIS per week. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Hey, if people want to petition, like if we get massive viewership, like so you gotta bring all your friends to watch, like the videos, like engage with all the content, all that stuff, and then petition to the production team that you need more TACIS per week. So vote with your dollar.
Hell yeah. Thank you for the $5 from Baby Bunny 1982. Speaking of bad words in Super Chat, my name is also a bad word. Y'all keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. 5 New Zealand dollars from Christina Hankey. Jessica Townsend's Nevermore series is a great option too. Hashtag Dr. Ben. So many good recommendations.
Thank you for the $10 dono from YouTuber Grudge. Gotta rep the masks. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Congrats on the job. Also love you, Jack. Just had to take a break from politics recently. No problem at all. Totally understand. So it's a lot right now.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the last one. So the sleeper hit. Team Dr. Ben came through.
Hey, coming back from behind. Let's go.
And let's see, as of right now, I think it was really close. Yeah, 34-33. But right now, public MAGA humiliation to heal us is the.
Okay.
I was inspired because I went to the Ren Fair this past weekend, and they had one of those games where you throw a tomato at a man who's insulting everyone. And I thought that was really funny. I was like, I want to do that to a Republican.
Yeah, I want to do it to all of the Republican. Dude, that's how we pay off our massive deficit. Is just you get like you charge what $10 a tomato to throw, and like almost everyone in the country would do it.
True. I would pay so much
Multiple
money.
times.
I was gonna say I would easily spend $1,000 to get a bunch of tomatoes for that game. Okay, hold on.
Yeah,
I think
we
I've
pay
got
off
our
the deficit
thing here. Oops. I meant to put in host left winner and I put in left. So my brain was typing what I read.
My name is now left.
There we go. Okay.
Oh no.
Charging up the clock here. Ready, Ben? In 3, 2, 1, go.
So, folks, I think that what will all bring us together here is quite clearly a series of stops in every single city wherein a now powerless Trump administration and all of the associated officials who've been appointed by Trump will go around in a set of stocks This will, of course, be used to heal the nation and presumably create a bedrock of accountability. Because if people know, if they're getting into politics, that there is a potential here that if you mislead the country, get involved in foreign wars, etc., discriminate, actively pursue bigotry. I think that if people knew that getting into politics could come with having tomatoes or various soft fruits hurled at you while in the stocks, I think fewer politicians would lie so brazenly and openly to us as the public. It's incredible the things that people can just say when you're an elected official in Congress or as in the cabinet. And I think that honestly what we really need is that accountability. And I think that accountability can of course be achieved in multiple ways, but I do think that an aspect of public humiliation could in fact be the catalyst to really making sure people avoid this in the future. Because honestly, the fines, they're not doing enough. The jail time, not doing enough. What might actually do enough? The people's tomato. Well, that's what we need in this time of turmoil. The people's tomato. All right? Just a million tomatoes rising up at once to be hurled against our oppressors. I think that is a solid argument.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, we got a couple minutes left before we're going to route everybody over to Calling It Now over on Jimmy's channel. So be sure to stick around. Don't close this window just because you think it's over, because it's not. There's more content and possibly some more fiery callers over on Calling It Now. So be sure to stick around for that. Also, if you want to join the Patreon, that's another way to support us in becoming a channel member. I see a lot of channel members out in the side chat, and you all are great, and we greatly appreciate you. And of course, I could go. Actually, no, I closed the schedule. I could open the schedule again and go through the schedule for this week, if we want to do that real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
So again, we don't have the TACIS schedule set for next week, but don't miss the Sunday show with Matt and Promise, the Sunday show After Dark with Forrest and John, and then on Monday, Skeptalk with Aaron Raw and Aaron Adair, and then Chewed Gum on Tuesday with Alyssa and Taylor. Don't miss that fantastic lineup, and be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Like and subscribe to our personal channels too.
Yeah.
We got some stuff going on. Join us for trivia tomorrow over on my channel. And then of course, harass Arden in wherever side chats you can.
True.
just true.
Harass me.
Just true. Just true. We got a few minutes to kill still, so we're just vamping.
If someone sends $100 super chat before the clock hits 4:59, I'll pick Maple up and I'll turn my camera on so you guys can see her.
Someone do it. Do it.
That's
it. We need
your
a dog. We need a doggo. Do it.
Yes.
Oh my god, I want to see the dog. Oh, we can hear the dog being loved, but we can't see it. This is the worst.
I can get my Labubu. I don't think anybody wants to see the Labubu.
The best Pokemon.
Yeah, the best Pokemon is Labubu.
Do you just have the one? And if
I only have one. Yeah, I only have one. I got it just for the bit. That was the only reason. I didn't actually want it.
Also, just want to say shout out to Lola Lazuli for the $5 super chat. The Tiffany Aching series by Terry Pratchett is a superior fantasy series. # Team Jack. True. Oh, nice. Anything Terry Pratchett is top tier.
Oh, Maple is a dog. I'm sorry, y'all don't know. Yeah, Matt and I got a pupper a few months ago. She's a
Maple's
cute
Not a-
little
not a
adorable.
kitty. Yes, she is.
Maple's an adorable little sausage dog.
She is. She's a little sausage dog. Her vet thinks she needs to lose a few pounds, but I think she's perfect. She's got some rolls. She needs some workout, but you know. Oh, it's $4.59. Sorry, chat, you didn't come through, but I'll take your $100 anyway. Oh, it came through.
Oh, somebody got it.
Oh, shit.
Somebody
all
got
right,
it.
all right, all right,
It's
all right.
in-
For
it's
Brutus.
there.
Come here, puppy.
Brutus, thank you for the $100 super chat.
Oh my god.
Wow,
For the
incredible.
engagement gods. Oh my god, I'm so excited.
We're gonna do this as an overlay. Here we go. This is Maple.
Oh, Maple.
You are the
I
sweetest
love
dog in the
her.
whole world, aren't you?
She looks so
Yes.
sleepy.
Oh my god. She is a beautiful
Oh.
puppy. She's very sweet. She just likes to chase our cat, but we've been working on it. We have a trainer who's been very helpful, and she has gotten way better at being nice to the cat.
Oh, what a baby.
Yes.
Oh, baby.
So this is Maple. There you go, you
So
guys.
cute.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Stick around for Calling It Now because we're going to take you over there. And these are our lovely patrons on the side. You can become one of them. The Patreon. Oh, we got another $100 super chat from
Hey.
Kelly, Detroit Atheist Queen. Thank you
Thank
so much for the
you.
super chats.
Thank you. Does that mean we
Thank
get to
you.
see Maple next time too?
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
we
She'll
should,
get a
yeah.
show off next time from Detroit Atheist
Yes.
Queen. Thank you so much, you guys.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, guys.